April 15th. First item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would ask that Supervisor Gray lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. It's time for oral communication. Anybody in the public may speak on anything that's not printed on the agenda. And I do have a card. Cards go first. And I also have a special request. So would Mr. Silva please come up? And then Mr. Aller also made a request. So we'll do that. And then from there, we'll line up. So. It's not because he's a Dodgers fan. In fact, I'm reconsidering.
Good morning. My name is Joe Silva, County Superintendent of Schools. I have two comments that I would like to share with the board. One, Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon has asked the National Forest County Schools Coalition if we would host a dinner for him next Tuesday, April 22nd in Portland. At that time, he is going to address the reauthorization of Secure Rural Acts. He's going to address full funding of PILT, and he's going to address forest management. The fact that he asked our coalition, and I know the supervisors are very close to that as well as I am, we just feel it's quite an honor. It reminds me of the Chinese proverb, when you drink from the well, remember to give thanks to the person that dug it. And for years, Senator Wyden has had our backs in rural counties throughout the United States. So I would like to say that, and I think that Supervisor Brennan may be attending that. We have Teacher of the Year dinner on Tuesday. I won't be able to go to that, but 6:30 the next morning I'm flying up for an all-day workshop that is in conjunction with that. Second, I sent you a flyer, and I would like to personally invite you to Rachel's Challenge, which is this Thursday, 6:30 at Sonora High School. Rachel Scott was the first student that was murdered at Columbine High School. There were 13 students that were murdered that day, 15 that died. After that tragedy, a businessman from another state called Rachel's father and asked to meet with him. They set up a meeting, and at the meeting, this businessman from another state said, I have to tell you, I've been having a dream every night, and it wakes me up. And at that dream, or in that dream, there's a girl crying. I don't understand the dream, but I think the girl is your daughter, Rachel. I've never met her. I've never seen a picture. I think that it is. Can you tell me the purpose of my dream? The father looked at him, suffering a terrible loss, and he said, no. He said, well, here's my business card. If you think of a reason or the purpose, would you call me? A couple weeks after that, the police called Mr. Scott. Said, can you pick up Rachel's belongings from the school? The person that shared all of this information is Mr. Scott. He spoke to the California County Superintendents. And as he was talking behind him, he had pictures of everything. Rachel was a student that did not like prejudice, did not like people being mean, and she would have on her book covers and her notebooks little sayings, little snippets of very positive things. And those would be on the screen behind us as he was talking. So he went down and he picked up her belongings, and one of the items he picked up was a backpack. That was on the film behind us, and the backpack was a bullet hole. He looked in the backpack, and one of the things that he knew about Rachel is she liked Anne Frank. She read the diary of Anne Frank several times. She began making her own diaries. She had 4. And when he looked at it, at the bottom of the backpack was a diary. It was her last diary. And he said, so you can imagine, like any parent, I wanted to see what was the last thing that my little girl wrote. And so he went to the last page. And on the last page, he looked at it, and in the upper corner was a set of eyes, and in the lower corner was a flower. There were 13 tears that were going from the eyes to the flower. He picked up the card from the businessman and called him, and he said, I know the purpose of your dream. Mr. Scott said, we want to come to California. We want to present our program to every county. I will, if you want to have us in your county, select one school and we'll do our program for free. I selected Sonora High School. They would do an assembly in the day and they would do a program at night for the community. Sonora High School is our largest school in the county. They're doing 2 assemblies for the students that day. That night at 6:30 in the Sonora High Auditorium, Mr. Scott, for an hour, will be talking to our community about kindness in schools. You are leaders in our community. I invite you to attend. I think it will be well worthwhile. We represent the public schools of all of the kids, and these are tragedies that none of us want, but they do occur in our schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Come on up, Stuart.
Thank you. I'm Stuart Aller. I live in Modesto, but I did go to Sonora High School. So I'm here in response to a new bill written by Tim Donnelly. It's AB 2205. It's a bill to allow us to use hounds in hunting bears and bobcats. It's a bill in response to SB 1221. I spoke a year and a half ago to you here to get support from this board to fight SB 1221, which passed narrowly. And hound hunting was outlawed for bears and bobcats at the end of 2012. The 2012 season, there were 1,962 bears taken in California. In the 2013 season, 1,044 bears were taken. So we're left with 900 plus bears in excess to what is normal. Every year, there are around 1,800 in the last 10 years bears taken in the state of California. Without the use of hounds, it's going to decrease, exponentially, but the population's going to increase greatly. So Associated Press recently wrote an article which they circulated in all the newspapers in California about this problem that we've got on our hands. What are we going to do with all of this influx of this bear population? This is a drought year, and if the feed doesn't make this year, it's really going to be a problem. In my interviews with a number of game wardens this year, every one of the wardens have told me the same thing. We can't manage the bear population with the use of hounds. How are we possibly going to manage the bear population without the use of hounds? Now, this assembly bill that Tim Donnelly has written puts into the hands of each district or each county the use of hounds in association with the Fish and Wildlife. So the Fish and Wildlife would manage with the county how many bears would be taken and be able to be hunted with hounds. Hounds create a great fear in a bear, and they keep wild bears wild. Hound hunters don't just simply kill bears. They hunt bears, they tree bears, but it keeps the bear wild, and the bear stays where it's supposed to stay, in the wild. Without that use of hounds, the bears are going to get more and more tame and come more and more close to houses and people and create a greater and greater problem. I worked for the Fish and Wildlife in Oregon after 1994 when they also had a bill up there that outlawed the use of hounds. Since they outlawed the use of hounds in Oregon, over half of the bear kill every year in Oregon is through depredation permits. That creates a tremendous cost. I work with a friend of mine up there that works full-time doing this. Full-time, he gets paid. It costs him $100,000 a year to keep him employed to kill bears, and he's just one man. So what I'm saying is that let's make this a sport and allow hound hunting, a tradition that's been here since George Washington, who actually is the father of the American foxhound. Let's support this bill. There have been 11 counties that have already written a letter in support of this. I'm simply asking you as a board to write a letter to Tim Donnelly's office. I've left the information with you.
Thank you, Stuart. And as you know, we can't take action today, but we can direct it to our Natural Resources Committee for a quick response, and then to our board. We'll agendize it for our next meeting.
That's exactly what we plan to do.
Perfect.
Certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much.
Okay. Ms. Batista. He's here to get out the vote.
You are so smart. Hi, my name is Debbie Batista. I am the county clerk and auditor controller, which makes me the county register of voters. And it is that time again. So every board meeting, I will be up here giving you more information on the election. So for today, I want to talk about the last day to register to vote will be May 19th. So if one's going to be 18 on or before June 3rd, which is the election day, please register to vote. You can either do it manually with the card at very different locations, including my office, the post office, and numerous county buildings, or you can go on to the Secretary of State's webpage, www.sos.ca.gov, and do everything electronically. Or you can come in, go to my webpage, and there's also the form to fill out. The other thing I would like to talk about is for all of us who like to go green and would like to stop receiving your pamphlet from the County of Tuolumne and just want to go on my webpage or the county's webpage under elections, which is my webpage, and look at all the information and not get 3 or 4, depending on how many voters are in your home, of the pamphlets every year and have to get rid of them and then either burn them or send them to the landfill. I did leave some forms in the back. Probably will not be put in for the June election because I'm going to be sending the file to the printer today, but will be in there from November on. Then you'll just go onto the web page and you can look up everything. You'll still get your absentee ballot. That's not going to be on the web page. So remember, June 3rd, come out and vote. We have numerous local elections that will decide who's going to make some decisions for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other public comment? And if we have any more, if you could line up just so we can keep it moving, that'd be appreciated. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm James Morey. I'm talking about the Friends of the Tuolumne County Library. We're having a local fair on Friday, April 25th at 10 p.m. And there will be 27 local authors who have published books, and we'll be promoting our books and maybe hoping to sell a few. But actually, there are 20 more authors, and there wasn't room for everybody. So we have a whole bunch of authors publishing books here in the county, and I'm not sure everybody realizes that. The books will be fiction, nonfiction. There'll be a lot of local history involved. There'll be biographies, family histories, children's poetry, adventure, military stories, self-help, and much more. I think you find it very exciting. And admission is free. And with that, I would like to introduce now Marilyn, who is the founder of the Sonora Writers Group, of which I was one of the members, and she's give you a little more information.
Thank you.
We're passing out the bookmarks to you guys, and all the participating authors are on the back. I would just like to read a sampling of the authors participating in the fair. We have Antoinette May will be there with her book, Pilot's Wife, which has been translated into 17 languages. She was #2 on the New York Times bestseller list for many weeks. We have a county historian, Carlo Di Furini. He will be there with his family history in Tuolumne County. Beth DeLuca will be there with Sophie Goes to War, the story of a dog rescued from the Tuolumne County Humane Society, and the dog became a mascot to the soldiers in Iraq. All proceeds from the sale of her book will go to the local Humane Society. For railroad buffs, we have Stephen Hayes. He'll be there with his books detailing the construction and history of all the depot and stations along the Western and Pacific Southern lines. Mark Francis will be there with his book, Empire, the history of the timber industry in Tuolumne County, the Standard Lumber Company, as well as the Empire Railroad. Dr. Ralph Rutherford will be there with his book on the mind-body health connection, Healing Yourself with Love, Understanding and Awareness. Jim's going to be reading from his book. I'll let you tell him just a little bit about it.
Thank you, Marilyn.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt. Generally, we have 15 minutes for oral communication, and before we go beyond that, I just need to get consensus from the board to authorize that. So, is there any? I'm good. Yeah. Okay. I assumed so, but just to be official.
We're almost
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm James Morey. I wrote my first book about 7 years ago and recently published the second book called Beyond the Outer Limits. It's a story about three families that meet on a wagon train going from out to the gold rush coming here to Sonora. The three families get intertwined, and the book starts in 1848 and it ends in 1968, and Apollo goes around the moon, and so that's part of what the stories is, the family, these three families. Let me read the few words out of here from the beginning of the book. The strange feeling inside the chest of Joshua Warden is neither pleasure nor pain. He tried to explain it yesterday to his wife as something like a clock that's wound too tight. Today the feeling is more intense as he stands in a group of trees between his pasture and his pasture land. Excuse me here a second. Anyway, his eyes search for the western horizon, but in this part of the Missouri boot heel that digs south into Arkansas, the sycamores, tupelos, sweet gums, and other trees do not allow it to be viewed. He relies upon the others to tell his sons of the wonders his family will see on their great western journey that begins tomorrow to the California goldfields.
Thank you, Jim. I also will be reading from excerpts from my novel, Common Thread, Uncommon Women. It's about 4 Native American women in my family, beginning with my great-grandmother, a Cherokee slave married to a white Confederate soldier. And it ends in the World War II with my oldest sister, Robbie. Thank you all for allowing us to promote this exciting event, and we're inviting you all personally to attend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Susan Lipscomb. I'm an in-home supported services provider. I was here at the first Tuesday of the month asking if the county would please help our pay and kick in to raise our pay. Mike Patterson, my union representative, informed me that federal monies and state monies are available to this county if you do put into the kitty for the in-home supported services providers' pay. Making $8.42 an hour, I cannot afford to pay for Red Cross classes. I would like to have my CPR certification and my first aid certification with me to help me provide the best that I can for my clients. But at $8.42 an hour, I'm barely able to make ends meet. In fact, I have had to change my weekend plans, things that I wanted to do for myself, because one of my clients needed to go grocery shopping, and I didn't have enough gas in my car until payday to do both. So I sacrificed my personal plans to ensure that my client would indeed have groceries until the end of the month. And I am asking the board again to please consider upping the in-home supported services pay, providers' pay, so that we can really do the best we can for our clients and our county. And if all of the supported services providers held CPR cards and first aid cards, if there is a disaster or something happening in our county, we would have more educated people on hand to help with our county's problem. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of Tuolumne County, citizens of Tuolumne County, my name is Randy Hanvelt. I'm here for the last time to promote the spring concert of the Columbia College Community Chorus under the direction of John Carter. John Carter is retiring after more than 30 years of doing this. This is just amazing what this man does. He's incomparable. So I'm inviting you to be there. The concerts are Saturday, April 26th, 7:30, and Sunday, April 27th at 3 o'clock. The concerts will be at St. Matthew Lutheran Church. It is his swan song, if you will. And I think you all have cards. I have a few more cards. There's some out in the lobby. And I encourage the public to attend. This will be the last chance to hear this choir under the direction of John Carter. He's amazing, and he is a blessing to the county. And somehow it would be good to send him off with a full house at both his concerts. So I'll be there looking for all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move to the consent calendar. Oh, Larry.
I was waiting for my cue. Larry Cope,
There's the
Tuolumne
cue.
County Economic Development Authority. It is my pleasure to be here today to present you with the award from the California Association of Local Economic Development. If you remember, I was up here a few weeks ago telling you that you had won an award from CalEd. I had the pleasure of being there to accept the award for the county, and I brought those awards back. So I'm going to have Evan, Mr. Royce, come down, and I'd like to present this to him and read what is on the plaque. These are very few and far between in the existence of CalEd. There are only a certain number of awards that they give out every year, so you have to be the better and the best of the best to be able to get some of these. So I think people really should look at this as a great accolade for what the county has done over the past 5 years in local government initiatives. The award, as the plaque says, it's the 2013 Local Government Innovation and Economic Development Initiatives Award of Merit. Is presented to the Business and Customer-Oriented Tuolumne County, presented to the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors, April 9th, 2014.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, is there any other public comment before I skip over anyone? Okay, so we will now move into our consent calendar. And before we do, I just want to ask the board to be mindful of time today. We do have a very long agenda, and I'll do my best to move it along, try to keep it on subject. So could the clerk please read the consent calendar?
Minutes of the meeting held March 18, 2014, approving the elimination of 2 vacant detective positions and replacing with 2 sheriff's deputy positions. Adopting resolution to approve a vacation of a portion of a public road easement named Fur Avenue. Accepting the resignation of Sherry Spitzy from the Law Library Board of Trustees and directing the clerk to send letter of appreciation and post a notice of vacancy.
Would anyone like to pull any items? Take public comment? Bring it back, ask for a motion?
I'll move on consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, got a motion from Hanveld, second from Brennan. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Could you please read item 5?
Consideration of commending Dennis Randall for his 33 years of service for the Tuolumne County Fire Department.
Thank you. Hi, Roy.
Good morning, Roy Evans, Assistant County Fire Warden. We're here to recognize a long-term member of the Tuolumne County Fire Department, volunteer fire captain Dennis Randall. Dennis Randall has been a instrumental part in a lot of programs that are still currently in place with the fire department. Dennis started his career in 1981 as a volunteer at Station 58, and in 1990 promoted to fire captain. He's been a member or served in the following committees and/or programs. He was a critical incident stress team member, a fire cadet program advisor, and that's our Boy Scout Explorer group. And so he was helped develop that. He was a member of the Tuolumne County Fire Department 10-year development plan, a member of the Tuolumne County Fire Department stabilization plan, and currently is a member of the Tuolumne County Fire Department Operations Committee. So I'd like to invite Supervisor Royce and Captain Dennis Randall to the...
Before we do, we'll approve this.
Okay.
And then I'll come on down. So with that, can I get a
I
motion?
move to approve the resolution.
Actually, is it a resolution or just a
Certificate
commendation?
of commendation.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that, but I'd like to just comment that I met Dennis about 4 years ago at a meeting of the Cedar Ridge Auxiliary, and then he invited me to learn something about fire, and he says, "What are you doing Saturday morning?" After 6 hours with Dennis Randall, I learned more about fire, and this guy is amazing. I want to add my personal congratulations on your retirement. I'm disappointed because we need guys like you. I hope someone will be there to take your place, and I want to thank you for your service. And with that, I'd like to second the motion.
Thank you. Any public comment? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carries 5-0, and I would be honored to come down and present this.
You want to read it?
You pretty much said everything. So, okay, but I just want to point out, 30-plus years volunteering for Tuolumne County is I don't even know what to say about it. You can't put into words what kind of a role model you are and what kind of a sacrifice that is, and it's just outstanding, and I really, really appreciate it from the whole Board of Supervisors and from Tuolumne County for your service. So, thank you very much.
Do I get an opportunity for rebuttal? You've already got my name, so I'll skip that part. Chairman Royce, member of the board, Mr. Pedro. You got the wrong person up here. I'm the guy that's fizzling out. Threw in the town, quit. You really should have George Purdy or Doug Clark up here, both of whom started before I am. Or Dave Skokin that's taken over at my station, Mike Savino, Justin Burt Whistle that continue there, or our newest trainees, Janelle McDonald, Tyler Farrell, along with a dozen other really active volunteers, our paid professional firefighters, a few of whom are here, and ambulance personnel. They're the ones that really deserve an applause. However, I do thank you and our citizens for providing me the training, the tools, some compensation, and the opportunity to help some of our neighbors. Thank the Ladies Auxiliary, our neighborhood associations for their consistent support, and many instructors from CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service that have helped me along the way. You've allowed me some great adventures. They first put me in a pickup truck with a shovel for the U.S. Forest Service way back in 1974. And you heard when I started here. With the U.S. Forest Service, I later had the opportunity to go to Utah and Idaho for some very interesting and challenging fires. With the county, I've been to Malibu, to Redding, to Reno, and to Oakland, as well as places locally here. It has been a good ride. I thank also some really tolerant clients and employees that put up with my participation. And I have to give a very special thanks, especially to my wife and my family. I am a little frustrated at the decline of an effective volunteer force in our county. We've closed stations. We don't have enough volunteers to assure a response. We often don't have enough people to do the job from our volunteer companies when we do get to scene. We don't do the mutual aid to other counties that we once did and we expect here from other people. And the insurance underwriters have reversed the modest savings that your volunteers once earned for you. Been doing the taxes, looking at the books. A little review on 2 properties I'm responsible for. I find that I pay 10, and in the other case, 30 times as much for homeowners' fire insurance as I do for the portion of my property taxes that are dedicated to fire protection. That money's going out of the area instead of funding local firefighters. It may protect me from some financial loss, but it doesn't lower the real risk of death or disability or loss of a treasured home. Even if we restored TCFD to its original tax rate, many existing stations in their area still would not raise enough money to pay the staff. Volunteers are still needed. I've seen the importance of our fire service much more seriously after witnessing the devastation in the Oakland Hills fire, with 3,000 homes destroyed, blocks of rubble, 30 people dead. We have a greater fire potential here. I understand the Stanislaus National Forest taking a little heat right now from the rim fire. That would be nothing compared to what happened if we let a county responsibility fire get away and go through one of our communities here. It'd make Occupy Wall Street and a Tea Party rally look like the kids' Tea Party. We can't let that happen. With our current staffing, we dodge the bullet here every year. If we repeat our previous experience in the 1990s, where we once had 50 lightning fires start in one morning, we wouldn't have the resources to cope. We still need volunteer firefighters. TCFD's current program to recruit volunteers is rather modest. We need to create an alliance of local fire auxiliaries, homeowners associations, fire districts, business and business associations, and launch a real program to encourage able citizens to become volunteer firefighters. We can accept losses to property in outlying areas and risk disastrous fires. We can increase our paid fire department staffing, or we can seriously recruit, organize, and train equip volunteer firefighters and emergency medical responders. Thank you very much for your recognition. I'm standing in for a lot of other people that really deserve it. And thank you for listening to my concerns.
Thank you, Dennis.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We are going to take item 26 now out of order. Could the clerk please read that?
Consideration of approving the 2014 Tuolumne County 5150 Evaluation and Response Protocol Multi-Agency Agreement between the County of Tuolumne Behavioral Health Department, Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department, Tuolumne County Ambulance, Sonora Regional Medical Center, Sonora Police Department, and the California Highway Patrol.
Thank you. Staff report.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and the community. My name is Rita Austin. I am the director of the Behavioral Health Department. Although I have the privilege of presenting this to you this morning, is I want to acknowledge my partners, some of my partners in this protocol and agreement who are here this morning also representing. We have the Director of Quality and Risk Management from Sonora Regional Medical Center, Dixie Hukari. Jim Ely, Tuolumne County Sheriff. And Scott Clamp, who is the Lieutenant Commander of the California Highway Patrol in Tuolumne County. We also have Dr. Stolp, who is the Emergency Medical Services Medical Director and Health Officer for the county. So, the process of a 5150, which is the involuntary detention of a person requiring psychiatric hospitalization for stabilization and return to the community, is a complex issue that oftentimes involves many different people, almost always some form of law enforcement, in terms of bringing people in from the field where they may not recognize the seriousness of their situation when they're a danger to self, danger to others, or gravely disabled. The hospital provides for the opportunity to attempt to provide some stabilization and medical clearance before they can be transferred to a psychiatric facility. And the Behavioral Health Department provides the evaluation to assure that the reason for the hospitalization is based on a mental illness and the need is to go to a higher level of care rather than develop a resource locally. Emergency Medical Services is then providing the transportation transfer from the hospital emergency department or intensive care unit or med-surg on down to a psychiatric unit for the ongoing care. The multi-agency agreement specifies the various roles of each of those organizations, many of which are laid out in statute, but the unique organizations and the needs within Tuolumne County are outlined here that kind of guide our timelines, who's responsible, and support us in making the best decisions possible for our community members. With that said, I am requesting that the Board of Supervisors approve the 2014 5150 evaluation response protocol to the multi-agency agreement for 5150s.
Thank you. Board questions? Public comment? Dr. Stolt?
Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Chair. Todd Stolp, Health Department. I wanted to speak up and commend the team that worked on putting this 5150 plan together. It's a very important plan for Tuolumne County. In Tuolumne County, we have about twice the rate of psychiatric discharge compared to other counties less than 100,000 population. About 1% of discharges relate to psychiatric care. Of those that are evaluated under the 5150 program, 1/3 typically are hospitalized. There's a larger number of those that are hospitalized both under private insurance and under public insurance. The uninsured are hospitalized at a slightly lower rate. The peak age for hospitalization is 46 to 60. Excuse me. I'm going to look that one up. I'm sorry, 26 to 40 is the peak age for hospitalization. And the point being is that's a population that provides some of the most important contributions to our economy. This is a very important matter to deal with, and it's one that I think deserves the attention that the team has given it. There is one component of the plan that I think should be strengthened. I note on page 7, there's a recommendation for establishing a post-evaluation plan for the patients that are evaluated. As I mentioned, 2/3 of the patients that are evaluated are released and not hospitalized. On page 6, I think there's a mention of providing them with a list of resources, but on page 7, there's a mention of putting a treatment plan together, and I think that's a very critical part of this whole plan. In Tuolumne County, we have 50 primary care providers, a little over 50. We have under 50 counselors available in Tuolumne County. Much, in fact, most of the mental health care is provided in private practices. One of the post-evaluation plans that is critical to the ongoing care of the 2/3 of patients that are not hospitalized is communicating that intervention to those private practitioners. In order to do that, a consent needs to be obtained from the patient to share information about the assessment with the private provider. Not just the assessment done in the emergency room, that is currently forwarded to private providers, but the evaluation that was done by counselors is also a critical piece of information for the ongoing care of those patients. So I, again, commend the team that worked on this. I'd like to see a little stronger embellishment of that post-planning component of the entire 5150 plan.
Go ahead, John.
How do we make that happen?
I think just a feedback to the team that put this together. I don't know the procedural process in terms of adding that, at least reinforcing that component of the plan with the plan that's before you today, but whatever procedure would be necessary, I would recommend perhaps going back and making a modification. And I'm sorry to bring this up at this point in time, but I think it is an important completion, process of completion.
That kind of begets the question, was this issue raised in the process of drafting this?
I wasn't privy to the meetings that
Okay.
went on.
Did you want to address that, Rita?
Thank you. Again, Rita Austin, Director of Behavioral Health. Remembering that this protocol is very specific to the interagency agreements on our responsibilities together, the protocol and follow-up related to the processes associated with the clinicians and behavioral health is addressed in our policies, procedures, and follow-up. I would also like to commend and thank the very same people who are involved for their commitment to SB 82, which we were awarded, and we will have field follow-up in response to call-outs for the law enforcement, hopefully to avoid some of the emergency department presentation and provide more resources within the community. So although this document does not address some of the concerns that were raised, we certainly have that contained within other parts of our protocol.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Dr. Stolp, does that address your concerns?
Oh,
I should bring up, I know that the Director, Rita, has been very committed to integrating with private practice. But I think this is an opportunity to include that even more strongly in this particular plan. Perhaps even referencing the protocols that Rita described that do stress the importance of sharing this intervention information, and the assessment information with private practitioners might be a simple way to solve the question.
So, Rita, can you come up one more time? Sorry. What I'm curious is there a time constraint attached to this or associated with this?
this particular agreement was actually updated, reviewed with a number of additions, partially in response to a grand jury request to address very specific issues that they were concerned about around training elements and updates to the various elements. The protocol really does address the admission processes rather than the discharge processes in this. And as Dr. Stolp did acknowledge, we are also involved in a intensive collaborative with the state of California in terms of integrated healthcare. So we are actually ahead of the curve in some of these areas, and we're really
So there's
excited.
no time constraint?
Hmm?
There's no time constraint?
I'm sorry, I didn't answer the question. The time constraint on the,
Is there a reason we need to do this today, or would it be possible to direct staff to go back and work this out and bring it back to us with some additional
this would
material?
then add to the admission protocol involving the other organizations and agencies.
My understanding.
There is not a time constraint.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask a question. Mr. Stolp's concerns,
Yes.
although most likely valid, okay, are they germane to the purposes of this document?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
So you believe they would be better addressed in another area? And in some ways they are? Is that what you're saying?
I believe that they are addressed, but not in the purposes of this agreement.
Okay. Dr. Stolp, would it be appropriate just to ask that after this you guys can meet up and take some of those concerns, see if there's some other more appropriate policies or so forth that could be either reviewed or updated to include some of those concerns? Okay. Well, with that, is there any other public comment? Bring it back and ask for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation.
All right. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor? Aye. Carries 5-0. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
thank you for that discussion. Could the clerk please read item 6?
Consideration of adopting a resolution continuing the local state of emergency as required by the California Emergency Services Act, Article 14, Section 8630C.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office and OES Coordinator. As your board is aware, whenever there's a local proclamation in place, California Emergency Services Act requires that the local governing body review that local proclamation no less than every 30 days. Your board renewed the last proclamation on April 1st. The next board meeting for the 1st of May was outside that 30 days. So we're bringing this item to you today to ask you to renew that proclamation. There are a few updates I'd like to give you. TUD, Twain Hart, and Groveland will not be here today. They are planning to be in attendance for your May 6th meeting. However, we do have our 4th monthly Drought Task Force meeting that will take place Thursday, May 1st, and that happens in in your boardroom. And we're currently working with the 138 small water companies, along with California Department of Public Health, to put together a workshop that would help them all draft a drought contingency plan, as we have found that many of them do not currently have one. And also working with the Ag Commissioner and looking at putting together a Ag Forum so we can bring all of the resources into one location and invite all of our Ag stakeholders into that meeting. So Vicki Helmar and I are working on that and reaching out to NRCS and to the Farm Services Agency so that we can get all those resources in one location. What I just handed out to you is a list of public drought community forums. You will notice that we have 4 districts on there. We are working with John Gray's district still, with Groveland Community Services District. That area has a bit of a different water source. They've been impacted a little bit differently. Continuing to work with John Sterling to find a time in which that they can commit to being there. There is a lot of work going on in their district right now, and so he's very busy, but we continue to work towards securing a date for that district. And I think that is it, and I'm happy to answer any questions
from the board?
Mr. Chairman, before I move on this, I would like to just comment that we do have an emergency. We're going to have an emergency for some time. And I'm a little concerned that, based on comments from constituents, that in fact we're not getting the message out to the public about the need to conserve water. The Chicken Ranch folks, who we owe a big thanks to for getting water for TUD in the amount of 2,400 acre feet, assuming they can take advantage of that, does not solve the problem and that we have long term. And we have, I think, Ms. Riggs told me 138, is that the right number of water agencies in our county? We all need to be water conscious, and this is a continuing thing. And I'm not sure it's going to end this year. None of us are. So I think we need to continue this. We need to be sensitive to this, and personally and corporately to deal with water, our water usage, and so we need to continue this. So with that, I would like to move on recommendation to continue the state of emergency.
I second.
Okay. Is there any other board comments? Public comment? Bring it back and...
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I'd like to echo Supervisor Hanvelt's comments. I've heard several comments from constituents and other people in the county that indicate that somehow we've dodged a bullet. I don't think we've dodged any bullets. If we have, they're still incoming. So we really do need to take it seriously. I do believe that there are some good efforts going on in the county, and we need to applaud those. But now is not the time to relax on this thing. It still is a serious state of emergency. So I will be supporting continuing this state of emergency in our county. Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carried 5-0. Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Clerk, please read 7.
Consideration of adopting a resolution encouraging water conservation measures in Tuolumne County.
Good morning, Tracy Riggs, OES Coordinator. This item before you is also in regards to the current drought situation. Your board has voiced on multiple occasions your concerns in getting the message out to our community regarding water conservation. While TUD has said that they've recognized significant reductions in water usage, we know we need to continue and see this through the rest of the year. County Council and I have worked on the resolution before you, and what this is requesting is a public statement made by your board that would ask anyone who's not currently under water conservation mandate by their provider that they would meet the minimum of what our governor has requested, and that is a 20% voluntary water conservation. So we are here today asking you to approve this resolution, and we are also here to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the board?
One more comment. One of my constituents specifically said he didn't think that the message was getting out to people on wells. And so my comment to the public is that we need, if you're on a well system like I am, we need to be conscious of our groundwater usage, and we need to conserve too. Surface water is in a really big short supply. We don't even know what our groundwater is. It's hard to determine that, but surface water replaces groundwater. And if you don't have a groundwater problem now, you will have one in the future if we don't pay attention to it. So this is an encouragement for people on wells to be cognizant of their usage and to try and conserve as well. It's just absolutely essential that we stay on top of all water usage everywhere. And the other suggestion I'm going to make is that I think our water people in your meeting that you have, I suggest they put out just a list of advisory things that could help people, and we publish that somehow wherever we can. Some people don't know how they can do more than they're already doing. You know, I'm taking shorter showers or whatever, but there are ways to conserve water. I know Mr. Kostlevy has a lot of suggestions. He personally saves 70,000 plus gallons a year by just collecting his gray water. Not everybody can do that, but where you can, we need to do those kinds of things. And long term, those have effects going forward. So anyway, with that, I'll either make the motion or let other comments take place first. Carl?
Yeah, and I want to put a positive spin on this, okay? Because people look at conserving water as a sacrifice. And what a lot of people are doing right now is they're taking advantage of an opportunity that's here to make some long-term savings in their water bills. Some of these things that you can do to conserve water are going to allow you to use less water for the rest of the time that you're in that home. Gray water systems that you can put in right now. There's a number of things that you can do that are going to have long-term savings for you. So don't look at it necessarily as just we're asking everybody to sacrifice and quit doing without water. There's an opportunity here. There's some rebates that are available. I'm not an expert on all of them, but you can work with TUD or your water provider and put in some efficiencies into your home that'll continue to save you money after this drought emergency is over. So I'd really encourage you to look for opportunities to do that, and I'll be glad to second the motion when it's time.
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the drought community forums are going to be an opportunity to come and hear about that. I know Ms. Riggs is putting together an aggressive agenda, and those folks are going to be there to let us know what resources are available. And so, again, I would encourage everyone to attend that can, the Drought Community Forums. The first one is at Sonora Opera Hall on April 30th.
Thank you.
You know, as far as getting the word out, it seems like everywhere I go, that's the number one issue that we talk about is water. And I think what Supervisor Rodefer said about what we can do now is learn how to use our water a lot better than we have in the past. And I see people doing that. I know in my community, I haven't seen a hose run in a month anywhere. You know, it'd be very common to come home and see water running down the street, you know, for somebody overwatered. That's not happening. So I do think most people are taking it seriously, but we do have some renegades out there that don't believe it. One of the things about you know, getting the word out is we do have the ability to use some of the local papers. One that comes in mind is the Yosemite Highway Herald that gets the South County, the Foothill Express, trying to get maybe the resolution or something like that in those papers really helps because people do read those. Okay. Thank you.
Any other board comments? I'll just make one quick one. I agree with everything everyone said. I find it unfortunate that Tuolumne County, such a rich county of natural resources, one of them being especially water, finds ourselves having to conserve 50% when surrounding neighbors that don't have those natural resources wastewater dramatically. I was in Modesto a week ago. I put a video on Facebook showing water just running down storm drains. Right after it rained, that storm we had, they were watering grass, and sprinklers were blown out, and it was just dumping water all over. So I got comments from all kinds of people that they've seen all kinds of other examples. So not only is Tuolumne County just such a great community that comes together during emergencies, but I think we're a role model across the state. Unfortunately, we're forced into this predicament, and I agree with this resolution. It's something we need to do to survive now, and just put in some context. It's unfortunate that we're in this situation, and I think it really highlights our need for water storage in the future and more access for Tuolumne County. And as we move forward, I want to kind of use this to direct staff not only to pursue this type of a resolution, but maybe a resolution to address storage and just the need for it, and use this to help define the problem that we're having. And I was also considering, and this is something just to direct, and maybe we can consider this later, but potentially sending a letter to our neighbors, surrounding counties, jurisdictions within a certain radius, water districts, cities, counties, highlighting what we are doing and just the situation we're in, and kind of outlining that. And there may be some reasons to do that, not to do that, but I want to consider that. And with that, I will ask for public comment. And take your motion.
Okay, just to comment on your suggestion about water, I suggest you refer that to the Water Advisory Committee, and then,
Sure.
and then with that, I'll make the motion to approve this resolution.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Hanbelt, second by Rodefer. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thanks, Tracy. Okay, item 8 has been pulled. We'll be hearing that in 2 weeks. Could the clerk please read item 9?
Consideration of approving an urgency ordinance amending the contract with the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System to implement a share of costs for classic members of the PERS safety contract.
Good morning. Ann Fremd, Human Resources Manager. As your board is aware, during December, you approved a memorandum of understanding with the DSA where they agreed to pay 6.25% of the employer share of PERS for all Tier 1 and Tier 2 classic members of the PERS contract. On March 4th, your board approved a resolution of intent to modify the contract. That began the voting period, which passed successfully. and well exceeded CalPERS requirements for a successful election. The CalPERS now requires an ordinance be filed with them that will authorize an amendment to the contract reflecting this share of cost. The timelines prescribed don't exactly fall in line with how everything's been running, and today we are urging an urgency ordinance, which is allowed by Government Code Sections 25123E and 25131, which allows an urgency ordinance to be adopted by your board for anything that affects negotiations and memorandums of understanding. The ordinance will take effect immediately. However, the amendment to the contract will not be effective until May 4th, 2014. And it's recommended your board approve this urgency ordinance, amending the safety contract to implement the 6.25 share of cost for classic members of the PERS safety contract effective May 1st, 2014.
Thank you. Questions?
No, can you just highlight, though, what the vote count was?
The vote count was 92 to 8 in favor of the
Thank you.
amendment.
Okay. Public comment? Bring it back for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation. Oh,
I'll second. I do have one question.
Yes.
That 8 was not all nay votes, right?
No, there was 3 nay votes and 5 no votes.
Thank you.
Non-votes.
Which count as no votes?
Yes.
Non-votes count as no
Yes.
votes. Okay. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Could you please read item 10?
Consideration of adopting a resolution for full pay and reporting value for Tier 1, 3% at 50 safety employees.
Ann Frem, Human Resources Manager. As we're going through the process of amending the contracts with PERS, there's a series of ordinances that are part of implementing new procedures as well as amending existing processes. So in 1995, your board approved a resolution that agreed to pay the employer-paid member contribution as compensable earnings for all members of the Deputy Sheriff's Association, the safety unit, as it was called then. At the time of this amendment, we only had 1 tier of PERS. So unfortunately, since then, we've negotiated a 2nd tier of PERS in March of 11, and then with the Public Employee Pension Reform Act, a new tier was implemented January 1st, 13. And this resolution cannot be rescinded at this time because it still applies to the miscellaneous members of the Deputy Sheriff's Association. So we are amending that resolution with language that covers only the Tier 1 employees that are entitled to the EPMC and full pay and reporting value, and amending the language to specifically address the classic Tier 1 safety members also. After we proceed with the miscellaneous vote, assuming it's successful, we'll be back to rescind the old resolution and then replace that one with a new resolution also. So it's recommended at this time that your board approve this resolution for full pay and reporting value for Tier 1 safety employees, which includes modifying Resolution 112.9-95 to ensure the same continuation of benefits to the DSA miscellaneous employees.
Questions?
I have none, no.
Public comment? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the on-staff recommendation. Our safety employees are very, very important to this county, and we need to keep compensating them at least at the level that we are. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Rutherford, second by Hanvelt. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Could you please read item 11?
Consideration of adopting a resolution for employee-paid membership contribution for Tier 2, 2% at 50 safety employees.
And from the HR manager. A final resolution that's needed to modify the safety contract is the recognition of the employer-paid member contributions for Tier 2 safety employees. When we negotiated Tier 2 back in March of 11, the employees were paying the 7% employee contribution. With the current negotiations and the agreed a share of cost of the employer portion, we are undoing what we negotiated in March of 11 and redoing this, so that way they are now paying a share of the employer cost, and now the county is now contributing the employee portion. So this resolution memorializes that, and it's recommended your board approve the resolution for employer-paid member contributions for Tier 2 safety employees.
Thank you. Board questions? Public comment? Can I get a motion?
I'll move on staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay. Any comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. Thank you. Okay. Could the clerk please read 12?
Consideration of approving correspondence to the United States Department of Agriculture. Secretary Tom Vilsack expressing disappointment in the Secretary's response to the Board of Supervisors' request related to the 2013 rim fire.
Mr. Chair, members of the Board, at your last meeting, your Board discussed how to respond to Secretary Vilsack's March 25th letter. I had 4 points that I was directed to do to reflect in the letter. One was to express the appreciation for the offer to conduct a multi-agency after-action review, and I believe the Board is aware that has been scheduled, and your Board representatives will be Supervisor Hanvelt and Supervisor Gray. We'll have staff, we'll have members from permittees, from timber industry and others, along with our safety departments and partners throughout the community. So that's good, and so it starts, that was to be reflected by way of appreciation. The Board did want to express disappointment, though, that none of the 8 core questions that were asked in your January 21st letter were addressed by the Secretary, and still seeking a response from him on each of those points. Third, to reiterate that your Board's deeply held desire is to simply learn from the fire so that a catastrophic event like that would not be repeated here or elsewhere. And then lastly, repeat the Board's call for an independent USDA investigation, while pointing out that since no investigation was offered, the Board would be requesting a full congressional committee hearing on same. So I've attempted to embody each of those 4 points in the letter that's before you and offer it for your consideration, modification, whatever the Board's will is.
Okay. Questions?
I just have a comment. In the second paragraph, I might recommend that we change the first sentence. We're saying that his letter made little effort. That's kind of presupposing some intent. I would maybe recommend your letter did not respond to our specific questions regarding the cause.
Agree. I'm okay with that. Is there?
Yes, I would agree with that. I also wondering if this is...
Hold on. Just make sure you got consensus from everybody. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. If this is an opportunity to offer some support in here for the protocol that's trying to be established for forest management now, the latest information that we just received on the change in forest policies as far as the management. I don't have a copy of that document in front of me right now, but maybe Mr. Pedro, I spent some time reading the email.
Yeah. I think you're referring to, I cozied up to these the last few days, the national strategy that
Yes.
just came out, that was sent around, and then also this McCullough watershed avoided cost analysis.
Yes, those 2 documents, I think, really outline what we've been trying to get the forest management people to do, and I believe they have a plan there that is almost identical to what we have been saying for years now, is to manage the forest better, and in this letter, do something positive and offer our support to those documents if we have time to do that.
Yeah, the only thing I'll also mention, something that Supervisor Brennan mentioned last time, was a economic impact of the 2013 rim fire on natural lands that was put out by Earth Economics. It just shows, validates the cost of a large fire. I just happen to have them here on the dais. I don't know if you want to put it in this letter. Again, whatever the board wants. We also have the second letter to Congress, whatever your desires are.
My impression would be that's a good thing to reference in a paragraph potentially. Add something along the lines of, we are encouraged to see this type of information and movement in this direction or whatever. And we also, I would say we also plan to comment on those specifically, and I think that those should be reviewed potentially through the Natural Resources Committee and addressed further in more detail. But I don't think it's a bad idea to reference it and show that that's a good thing, and that is in line with what our intent has to do with regarding those items.
I think also down near the close somewhere, just a comment might be injected that Tuolumne County looks forward to being a full partner in any process that will result in better forestry management and stewardship of our federal lands.
I think those are good words because, I like these reports. I'm glad to see this, but until they manifest themselves in the real forest management plan, they're just nothing but words. And those management plans are being redone right now in the southern Sierras with the Sierra Inyo and Sequoia National Forests. Those need to have these changes in policy not only included but implemented in reality.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to encourage, my comment really is we need to encourage that the real implementation of these ideas.
Yeah. The good news is that it's out there and it's
going in the right direction.
It's seriously being looked at, and I do think that we need to really be positive from our direction on helping make that happen. The other thing is that, when you review, when we wrote this first letter, there were some documents that we really didn't have, and we didn't have the letter from to McClintock from the Forest Service. We didn't have the initial action report. Would it be proper to make note that we have received some of that? Because what we're saying here, we didn't get anything, but we didn't get it from him, but we have had reports.
I think those are referenced, aren't they?
They are mentioned
They're attachments
in the
also.
letter as
Okay.
attachments.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
So to draft that other paragraph, and do you want to bring this back after lunch or something? Or do you want to?
We don't
See
have
if-
time at lunch.
Yeah. If I could just take direction just to make that the did not respond change
Yeah.
that was made earlier, add in a paragraph and mentioning the encouragement to see studies like this, that we plan to comment on those in detail, and just saying that we do look forward to being a full partner and developing a good forest management, I don't know, come up with the words, techniques, and good stewardship of the forest.
Okay.
And I guess one other comment Handel had was about implementation versus just in writing. Just
in other words, when you reference those, we look forward to the full implementation of the recommendations that are in there.
Yeah. And with that, I think we're good.
Okay.
Is there any other board comments? Public comment? Bring it back and get a motion with that direction.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the letter for signature by the chairman, incorporating the comments that have been suggested.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Could the clerk please read 13?
Consideration of approving correspondence to the chairman of the House of Representatives Natural Resources Committee requesting a full congressional hearing to determine what we can learn from the 2013 rim fire and prevent similar wildfires in the future.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this is the second part of the discussion we had on the same issue. This would be a letter directed to Congressman Doc Hastings, the Chair of the Natural Resources Committee for the House of Representatives. This is asking for that full hearing, and let me just read this one portion of the memo. A full congressional hearing is intended to not only look into the cause and early management of the rim fire, but also the environment, such as the fuel conditions in which rim fire grew to become the environmental and economic disaster it was. The board hopes that such a review will bring out lessons that can be learned in regards to best firefighting practices, but also lessons that can be learned with respect to forest management practices to prevent such a catastrophic fire from happening again. And now that we have these studies, I drafted the letter, probably make some of the same points that the board was just talking about, that this is really good stuff that came out in a very, very timely for this kind of correspondence. So if the board would like, I could make similar comments to the Vilsack letter in the letter to Congressman Hastings.
Sounds good. I see nodding heads everywhere.
And I agree with that. I just would really encourage Supervisor Hanfeld's point that those documents are good, but they need to be tied to action in the forest land management plans that are being developed in Region 5.
Yeah, I think this is really important. I mean, some people may look at this and go, well, you're sending Secretary Vilsack a letter, and then you're kind of maybe repeating the effort by sending it to Congress. But one of the issues that I think that is very real for the Forest Service, and I'm not making any excuses for them at all in terms of the forestry management, but funding is a very real issue. And I think having Congress take a really close look at this may turn some light bulbs on in Congress about the kinds of resources that are needed, and maybe some insight into how to better manage the resources, better direct the resources that are already provided, but also the potential need for additional resources for the Forest Service to do their job.
I would also ask that we attach a copy of the Earth Economics Study to this, a full copy. All right. Thank you.
One more thing, and I should have commented on this on the letter back to Vilsack, Secretary Vilsack, that we should also include RCRC and CSEC on our correspondence. RCRC in particular, this is a topic at virtually every meeting, and so I know they'd like to see this. And I think some of the other, and I'll take care of that personally, I guess, but some of our other representatives that used to represent us but represent interests in our water here would also have interest in these, like Congressman Denham and Assemblymember Olson.
Would you like those copied, or you'd be handling that?
Well, I can either take care of or even copy them. I think they should be copied.
Okay.
They have interest here because the irrigation districts that have water interest here are their representatives.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to emphasize something, because the board has talked about this, you want to look at the techniques used initially when the rim fire happened, and then you're also looking at the conditions in which the fire grew. What was there before the fire even ignited.
Yeah.
And just to say it clearly for the public, those are two of the very points that are made in these studies that just came out. Two of the very same points. So and your board has made it clear you're not here to go beat on anybody or anything like that. You're just trying to pull out lessons that can be learned, both in the fire management the firefighting techniques and in the forest management techniques and policies, so that this won't, if it can be avoided or minimized in the future, that's really the point. And again, these studies came out in such a timely manner. It's perfect. It feeds right into the message that you were trying to communicate.
And I think that's very important. We're not trying to pick on the U.S. Forest Service for putting out the fire. We want to know a lot more about it. We want to know how it could have been managed better if possible. It may come out that they did the best possible thing that they could do. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, and it's just the fact that 400 square miles burned. We don't want that happening again. Somehow it happened, so don't let it happen again.
One other good news point, in scheduling Forest Supervisor Skalski to come at your May 6th meeting to the two parts to do her State of the Forest discussion, but also to talk about, what coordination means to the Forest Service. But we're fortunate we are going to have the regional forester, right? Randy Moore is going to come on May 6th. And this is in response to a question that or an invite that your board put out last year, which is to come and talk about some of the stuff that Supervisor Rotifer was just getting at, which is what can we do to help you advance healthy forest practices. And a lot of that is, and that's part of the reason to go to Congress with this kind of stuff. It can be in the form of funding. It can be in form of laws, changes in regulations, and those kinds of things. And a lot of that, it happens appropriately up at the Washington, D.C. level, not regionally, not locally, which was the message that the board was trying to send almost a year ago. So he will be here, and that could be a really positive engagement with Mr. Moore.
Awesome. Any other comments regarding this letter? Did I already take public comment? I don't think so. Forgot we're talking too much. Public comment? Bring it back and ask for a motion.
I move to approve the letter. As commented on.
Comment on amended, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second that.
Did you get that, Alicia? Any other comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 14.
Consideration of endorsing correspondence from the Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions Collaborative related to the rim fire hazard tree removal environmental assessment.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is a follow-up to direction you gave at the last meeting. The YSS, Yosemite Stanislaus Solutions Collaborative, was trying to draft correspondence supportive of the hazard tree removal EA. They're trying to make 2 points: that litigation shouldn't be allowed to prevent a speedy implementation, and that speedy implementation is needed so the saw log wood material will not deteriorate past having a point of having economic value. There's a new letter that I did send out in your materials. I believe it's been reviewed by Supervisor Brennan with her endorsement, and it's offered for your endorsement.
Comments, questions?
No comment. Just that this letter actually supports both the hazard tree and the salvage EIS, both.
The EA and the EIS.
Right, documents that are being put forward, even though they have not found the preferred alternative yet for the salvage EIS. It is important to note that of the 4 alternatives, the idea is that all of the communities just support getting the timber out of there as expeditiously as possible.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Public comment? Bring it back, ask for a motion.
I'd move on staff recommendation.
Do I have a second? Got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 15.
Consideration of approving correspondence on Governor Brown's Sustainable Groundwater Management Plan.
Staff report.
Morning. Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. It's exciting to see that the governor is looking to local government and the community at large to provide comments on a groundwater management sustainability plan. He asks a number of questions in his 2-page briefing on groundwater management, and some of these are directly applicable to local government, concerning land management, general plans, talking about local enforcement of potential groundwater rules that would be created. I have included in the board's packet a number of comment letters from the California State Association of Counties, from RCRC, and other agencies. I did prepare a letter for your consideration that its points are the unique nature of the groundwater in mountain counties that are is fracture flow. We're not in an aquifer, so we are in a it's a more difficult to manage situation on who's affecting what and where. How's the groundwater moving? It's difficult to monitor that. So we would need additional resources to enforce any potential regulations that may come down. And we make the point that we need this funding to be consistent. It can't be, it needs to be flexible and over a lengthy period of time. to make a difference. We also talk about the need for the Sierras to be a better storage for water, and we need to manage the healthy forest needs is a point. The last one is talking about how personal property rights and the ability to drill a well has long been assumed to be a property right held dear to one's heart in Tuolumne County. I know you'll receive some additional input on that here briefly from the public. So there's the letter for your consideration, for your editing.
Questions?
I don't have any questions. I've got a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
First of all, I know we're going to hear this, but California is one of the very few, if not the only, Western state that doesn't regulate groundwater or manage groundwater. One of the things that we talk about, the unique nature of groundwater in the foothills, it's broader than that, I believe, and that is that groundwater is different wherever you go. Okay, the groundwater in the valley is different than the groundwater in the foothills, is different than the groundwater maybe down in the LA basin or whatever. So I think it's really important, and the governor's on the right track in that regard, in terms that groundwater needs to be managed locally, because the nature of it is local, has uniquenesses to it based on locality and everything. And the local government is the group that is can be most effective in managing groundwater. Right now, I believe that the governor's focus and all of the state agencies' focus is probably very heavily on the valley and some of what they would consider to be abuses of groundwater down in the valley, and the need to get some control over that and use groundwater as a banking system for droughts as well. There's a lot of dialogue going on that. Just because their focus is down in the valley doesn't mean that we should relax our guard and everything, because as soon as the drought goes away, their focus is going to broaden, and they're going to start looking into the foothills and some other places that they may not be focused on right now. So we need to make sure, first of all, I believe that there is a need for management of groundwater in California, but it needs to stay local, and we need to be in control of it, not the state. And we need to make sure that if we're going to have some kind of regulatory action, that regulatory action is authored locally and enforced locally.
Go ahead.
I agree with everything that Supervisor Rotifer said. Attending some of the meetings, water meetings, the groundwater meetings in Sacramento, RCRC, and other meetings, the groundwater issues are, like you said, unique to the area. For instance, the northern Sacramento Valley sits on an aquifer, and there are 6 counties up there who are trying to do that. They manage the groundwater, and they recognize they're all dipping their straws, if you will, into the same glass or pool of water. The problem that seems to be causing the issues these days tends to be the southern San Joaquin. At least that's the one that's getting the attention. But what they do there certainly wouldn't impact us. I think they need to encourage, like he says, the local agencies to deal with it, because what they do in the valley certainly wouldn't be what we need to do here. But we do need to pay attention to groundwater all over the state. It's an important issue. So
yeah.
It's unique. That's my point.
I've got a couple comments, and I just want to be clear. In California, we do regulate groundwater. We don't regulate quantity of groundwater. But if you want to drill a well, it's not just Wild West. You have to go get permits, where it's going to be put, and the environmental health aspects to it are regulated. And I think that's an important thing, because that's a health issue. But I think it is somewhat of a property rights issue. And I don't know the legal background to that, but there's a lot of people in Tuolumne County especially that have land that may or may not be developed that is reliant on a well. And there's future potential for, major impacts if that was to be infringed on, whether it be a legal or not legal thing. It's going to affect people. So I think leaving that statement in there, maybe addressing it a little bit more to make that clear would be important. Especially, in a rural community that's got lots and lots of hills and, natural obstacles. You don't have public water just easily routed to everybody's doorstep. There's a lot of places that's the only way you're going to get water. And so it could have a huge impact on our future. The other comment I want to make is this drought is going to be an interesting experiment when it comes to groundwater in Tuolumne County, because we'll see how much of an impact it's really going to have. And it may not happen until next year when
or the year after
water tables recharged or so forth, depending on future years. But up to this point, it's not broken. People aren't, all running out of water in their wells. So I want to be careful that we don't fix a problem that's not broken. And I don't know if that's something that needs to be included in a letter or just me stating that just to kind of help clarify my position. But we need to be cautious because, like I said, there's a lot of potential impact. And then beyond that, I think it just highlights even more, and we've talked about this before, the state is capitalizing on an opportunity to get something done that wouldn't otherwise be politically acceptable in a non-drought year. The crisis effect is in place, and I just want to once again bring that up and make sure that our eyes on the ball. I know I don't see Rob in the audience, but Rob Kosovi, he's been focused on this from the environmental health perspective, and it's something that's really important. So I appreciate the letter, and I hope that it has some impact. Carl?
Yeah,
go ahead and share.
Okay, just a quick follow-up on some things that Supervisor Chairman Royce said. A lot of the impetus on this groundwater really came from a subsidence issue in the Delta and not necessarily from this drought. Obviously, the drought does provide a window of opportunity for the government to try to step into some place that they weren't before. But the problem with groundwater is not just drought related. It's a problem that existed prior to this drought, and it did result from some over use of the groundwater, and people just need to understand that. The other thing that I would ask is that you include Mountain County's Water Resources Association and ACWA, the Association of California Water Agencies, on the CC list.
Sherry.
Yeah, so I partially agree with what Supervisor Rotifer just said, but I think we need to also have some verbiage in here that we can't talk about groundwater without talking about surface water replenishing groundwater, and that needs to be in the form of increased storage. We need more capacity for storage, and so those discussions cannot be separated.
Yeah, and let me comment on that because it's Supervisor Hanvelt and I heard it in a meeting that we were down in Merced. We want to be clear that it's surface storage, okay? Because there is an emerging food fight coming, I believe, for people that are proponents that the best way to store water is to bank groundwater as a hedge against future droughts. While that is a very good strategy, it does not obviate and it can't replace the need for increased surface water storage.
Right. And that's exactly what I have in my notes here, surface water storage.
I agree. Any other comments, or can we go to public? Public comment. Come on up, Jerry.
Jerry Cadigan, Tuolumne County resident, and I apologize. I sent a letter in after 5 o'clock last night. Those who read it, go ahead and nod your head, and I'll just sit down, basically. Okay. I think it's a mistake the sentence that bothered me so much was, has long been assumed a personal property right. That is too broad. And you are falling into that trap of saying, people have the absolute right to drill a well as deep as they want and do whatever they want with the water. That is not the law. Even John Mills will agree with me that that's not the law. He and I disagree around the edges on how you can regulate groundwater. John and I have had some interesting discussions about that. I will be glad, and I've made this offer before, and I apologize, just get back from vacation, and I've got to charge off now to do something. I'll be glad to work with Daniel to, modify that sentence a little bit, just so that you're not implying that you all assume that there's a personal property right here that goes beyond what it really exists.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
I agree
Absolutely.
with you in a way, and I tried to say it. I don't know if I said it, but it's a perception of the community. And I think the sentence tries to say it when it says it's assumed. We're not saying that it is a right, but it's assumed by a lot of people, and it will have a lot of impact on people and their expectations of their property. And when they buy it, you go buy 10 acres and you think you're going to be able to put in a well and build your little dream house, and next thing you know, oh, sorry, you can't do it because of this new state regulation. We're concerned about that type of an impact.
I think just the word perception probably, some very simple words I think is correct.
And it's within the public, not necessarily the board. We're just representing that concern.
Exactly.
Yeah, basically it. So I'm okay with modifying it, but I still want to keep
Before the end of the day, Daniel and I can wordsmith.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if the modification is acceptable to you, since you're signing it, I'm okay with that.
When's it due?
I'm putting my name on it.
That's what I said.
Okay.
I trust you will
I can
be
work
able
with
to do
these
that.
guys to get that point more clearly articulated, so we can do that.
And while I'm on my feet, let me make one additional point. I totally agree with Supervisor Rutherford that groundwater should be managed at the local level. I really do agree. Not only because we have different kinds of aquifers. We have our fractured rock up here. They have the big basin down there. The fact of the matter is, what is coming out of Sacramento and all the commentators now is that if you don't do it, we're going to come do it for you. And I think we want to get ahead of that curve, because you don't want the state, I agree with you, you don't want the state coming out with some broad-based set of rules, what have you, that would not necessarily be applicable here. So I'm not suggesting, I don't really have any thoughts on what Tuolumne County ought to do, but somebody in Sacramento over the next year or so is going to say, now let's see what regions have done something and which haven't done, and let's go in there and help those that haven't done it. And obviously, my focus is exactly as you point out in the southern San Joaquin Valley, and I would guess they will eventually come down hard in that area. But I make the point, one final point. Local management is fine to a point, but keep in mind that groundwater basins and even fractured aquifer basins don't follow political boundaries. And you will always have the problem of the guy who drills a well, and we've got the example right here, right up against the border of Tuolumne County, 1,000-foot well, watering 10,000 almond trees, what have you. That is probably impacting the groundwater in those ranches down near the border, what have you. So somebody is going to deal with, how do we deal with the situation where County A does a great job and County B sits on its haunches and just laughs? And it's out there, and it's going to be dealt with.
I have a question, and actually, this will probably come to you, Bev. When entitlements are being considered and approved, groundwater is something that's looked at in CEQA, right? So anytime subdivisions, site review permits.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. Yes, the source of water is part of the environmental review for any entitlement. Even a building permit for a new home that's going to be on a well, environmental health looks at that as well.
So it is considered.
Yes.
So locally, we're already doing that in a way based on requirements by state regulation. So would it be worth adding something in the letter that says that we already do that in a way, and that the existing demand is somewhat met, and any further uses is being considered through CEQA?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I'm real comfortable with that.
Attaching additional strings to CEQA, giving them ideas?
Well, the problem, and Mr. Cadigan was saying, you drill a well, what's the impact of drilling my well? Well, I think, water is tied everywhere. And we just talked about, you can't really talk about ground storage without talking about surface storage. I mean, storage, they go together. Surface water, groundwater demand is directly related to surface water availability. I mean, it's pretty clear. So when you don't have surface water, groundwater demand goes up dramatically. Groundwater goes up dramatically, and at least in the southern San Joaquin, where they're already getting subsidence, they're going to see a lot more of it this year because it isn't, the surface water isn't available. And so, one of the other problems I see with water in general is it's always been a zero-sum game. I get mine, and I don't worry about you. Well, we got to start thinking about taking care of our neighbor a little bit here and making sure everybody's got water. I have historically felt that the water in my land is mine, but that's not really true. Because I could impact my neighbor, and I don't want my neighbor thirsty. So, we have to have balance in how we approach these issues. Everybody needs water, and so, but I do get worried about the state. The state tends to dictate things, and as we know, one size fits all, an overused term, but we can't have that. It has to be managed for the conditions and the existing problem in the area where it exists. And I do believe southern San Joaquin Valley is where the current crisis is, but we'll all have a crisis if we don't pay attention. So balance, and if you will make that adjustment, I don't think we should extend too much beyond where we already are.
All right, let's get this going here. Can I get a motion?
Sure, I'll move on approving the letter pending your approval of the change that's been recommended.
Second.
Any other comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Quickly, I want to hear number 16, and then we're going to take a break. Yeah.
Consideration of recognizing unanticipated revenue from the Recorder's Social Security Number Truncation Trust Fund in the amount of $7,467.38 with an offset increase in the Recorder's modernization budget.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Ken Catano, Assessor Recorder. This item before you today is a follow-up of a presentation that I made back in December, and it has to do with AB 1168, which went into effect in 2007, requiring recorders all throughout California to redact or truncate Social Security numbers so that it would prevent identity theft. And in 2007, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution which allowed the recorder to collect $1 for every document that's recorded to help with the cost of doing this truncation of the Social Security numbers. In December 2013, I came to you and asked you to approve moving the money from the trust fund into the modernization budget so that we could do that truncation of Social Security numbers from 1980 through December 31st of 1992. My mistake at the time was that I didn't include 1993 and 1994, which we had not redacted yet. From 94 forward, we have been doing, we did some back redaction with our own staff, and now we're asking for approval of an additional $7,000 to cover those other 2 years. And we have entered into a contract for the previous 12 years with our vendor, and we just need to modify that agreement to add the additional 2 years once we get your approval to transfer the money from the trust fund into our modernization budget. And that, I will give you some more background here too, that is a pretty narrow focus that the law gave us, which says that you can only use that $1 for truncating Social Security numbers back to January 1 of 1980. It does not allow us to go back farther than that. If we had to go back farther, that would be outside the scope of that law and would be something that would be on the head of our general fund to cover that.
Thank you. Oh.
So with that, I'm simply recommending that we recognize that unanticipated revenue so we can finish up this project, get all of our Social Security numbers done back to 1980, and then we'll continue to collect that dollar to do the redaction on a go-forward basis, and that law sunsets in the end of December 2017, and it would require the board to reauthorize that $1 per document if there was still a need for that additional money.
Questions?
Quick question. One comment for the public's benefit. You need the $7,000 because $7,467.38 because you hire someone outside to do that. You're not able to do that with your current staff. That's just for the public. But going forward, if we had made that part of our standard procedure, and you can answer this when you come back and ask us to renew it, it seems to me if we did it as part of our standard procedure, it wouldn't cost us anything to do it. I mean, it's basically every time you file a document, right?
Right, and there is staff time involved in looking at each document.
To truncate the
Social Security.
Social Security number, it costs, you think it costs $1 a document going forward?
Well, we do continue to pay a maintenance fee to our vendor for that program that allows us to create an official record, which
Well,
is
when you or your successor
unchanged.
comes forward, you can justify it, okay?
Yes.
Okay. With that, I'll move on recommendation.
Can I get public comment? I've got a motion and a second. Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right,
And
thank you.
let's take a 10-minute break. Time to get back to work. Okay, we are going to hear item 24. We're going to take it out of order so we can put our district attorney back to work.
Consideration approving contracts with Carpel Solutions for case management, application software training, and support.
He promised to make it quick if I heard it right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Honorable Board, Mike Knowles, District Attorney. This is something that's been in the offing for a considerable length of time. We've run it through the ITSB. It's a very, very important tool, and frankly, we've been behind the times. With this system, we'll be able to interface with specifically with probation, law enforcement agencies, and the courts. As I put in my memo, it's not like it's going to make it so that we can eliminate people because it won't involve any elimination of any positions, but it will bring about an increased efficiency in terms of paper and couriers. It's a cloud, it's in the cloud system, just like the Audemon system that probation has, so it has unlimited storage, and it's web-based, so there'll be remote access. I know. Are there any other questions?
Just a quick question. It's compatible with the other departments?
Yes, that was in the RFP. They have to be able to interface with Audemon and RIMS.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
They'll have to build that because they worked that out with the other
RIMS
companies.
is sheriff, Audemons is probation.
The sheriff and the police department have RIMS. Audemon is probation. Yes.
Okay. And security, it's all good to go.
It's actually already in place. They use it for CGIS and DOJ, FBI. There are, I think, 11 counties in California that now use it. Honolulu, Hawaii uses it. State of Washington, Kings County.
Very good.
It's
Tried and true.
tried and true.
Perfect. Any questions?
Well, I sent Mr. Knowles a couple of questions, and he's adequately answered those for me. But the one thing I would like to just ask, is there any cost savings for the county in this?
Systemically, very much so. Right now, for example, the probation department has a courier that comes to my office minimum of once a day, sometimes twice. We have couriers from DSS. We have couriers from law enforcement. Additionally, it's significant because this is designed for prosecutors. The current system we have won't interface with anything, and we can't exact data to get the statistics that we need for, like, Office of Traffic Safety, victim witness grants. This already has a module for restitution tracking and victim witness grants, so there will be time savings. It will shift the functions in my office, but it will not eliminate any positions in my office. Systemically, yes, very much so. We will no longer be, in terms of driving, shifting, transporting, and paper. We will have the potential, we'll slowly go paperless with this. Siskiyou County enacted it. I don't know that we'll do it with this light speed, but within 3 months, Siskiyou County was paperless on their misdemeanors, which was about 70% of their caseload. So there will be systemic savings. Also, it is a hosted system, so the support and the follow-up and the transitional changes as it progresses will all be done by the vendor. So IT will be helping us significantly with the transition and certainly with interface of hardware. But beyond that, the other things, for example, the server. You had to buy a new server. We will no longer need to buy a new server because we'll be cloud-based. The server that you had to replace for, like, the Public Defender's Office and some of the other agencies, we won't be invested in hardware. We're going to be dealing with, like I say, a web-based cloud system that has limitless storage. Also, we'll have savings with respect to archiving and less paper.
Cool. Any other questions? Public comment? Bring it back for motion.
Move on recommendation.
Second.
Any comments? Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And thank you so much for taking me out of order.
No problem. Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Shane, for letting him.
Go back to work.
Okay. Let's hear item 17 now.
Consideration of participating in the Don Pedro Federal Energy Regulatory Commission relicensing process and providing direction to County Council, Water Council, and County Administrator staff regarding the process.
Thank you. On April 1st, your board heard a presentation from our Water Council, Mr. Nicholas Jacobs. He provided a memo to your board regarding the status of the FERC relicensing process. If the county wants to intervene, it must do so by the end of June. The involvement would be related to addressing environmental impacts associated with the project and to potentially obtaining mitigation for those impacts. Mr. Jacobs also recommended, in conjunction with the county intervening in that process, the county should begin negotiations with both MID and TID to address funding for firefighting and other emergency services related to the protection of the watershed. So today, your board should consider whether or not to formally participate in the FERC process, and also if the board's interested in the county directly negotiating with MID and TID.
John and then Randy.
Yeah, I think that, certainly I would be in agreement to participating as an intervener. But the most important thing, I think, is to sit down at a table and talk to them about what type of relationship that we could have with them, similar to what we have with Hetch Hetchy, the contract that we have that covers fire, ambulance, roads, and some other things. It would seem that, the things have changed since Don Pedro was first licensed. We were getting considerable property tax from the properties owned by TID at the time. we no longer get that. So there should be some sort of, in my opinion, some sort of remuneration, a replacement of those monies if possible. And the only way we're going to do it is to sit down at the table and talk about them. That's all we got.
Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with John. It seems to me that this FERC licensing thing is really a long way down the road. I've done a lot of thinking about it. And whether intervention is the right thing or not, we should have been participating in this a long time ago. We all know that. Okay, so that's water under the bridge, so to speak. But I do think we ought to engage with MID, TID in looking at what our relationship with them should be in terms of water and working on that. Before we actually physically intervene, we really need to know what's going on there, whether it's even possible and anything can be done, and whether it's the right action. But we do need to be present. And the other one I'm going to suggest is that we go beyond and we also talk to the Tri-Dam people about what our relationship with them should be in terms of water. And we need to work on this water thing as cooperatively as we can to take care of our constituents' needs. But we do need to participate. We do need to fund our water attorney, and we do need ultimately a consultant that knows something about water, because none of us are knowledgeable about water to work in the best interest of the people of Tuolumne County on all these water issues. So there I am.
Carl?
Yeah. I just want to summarize and make sure that I'm accurate in a little offline conversation that I had with County Council during the break. Our water attorney is recommending that, or he's telling us, let's put it that way, he's telling us that intervening in the FERC process gives us more leverage when we're doing the negotiations with MID and TID. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes.
Okay, so it is important for us to intervene if we want to pursue the negotiations. And I think, without casting aspersions to any predecessors of ours, I think we could have done this at an earlier date, but we certainly need to get value for what the services are that we provide there in terms of all the things that Supervisor Gray outlined that we have with Hetch Hetchy. So I think it's important that we do this. I also would echo Supervisor Hanvelt. There may be some ways that a combination of a water consultant and a water attorney may actually save us some money. I don't know what those would be, but I'm sure that the water attorney could help us identify those as we go forward in both of the processes, the intervention and the negotiations. In terms of attending meetings where maybe legal expertise isn't necessarily needed, it might be a less expensive alternative to send a knowledgeable water advisor. What I'm finding out as I dig deeper into the water issues is that the more I learn about water, the more I find out that I really don't know. And I think a knowledgeable water consultant can be useful, not just in this effort, but we certainly could look for ways to use them in the future at the board's discretion. So that's where I'm at, and I'll be glad to make a motion when it's time.
Question. So, Daniel, do you know the lower Tuolumne in-stream flow study, what part of the Tuolumne River exactly is that? The Tuolumne as it goes in or as it leaves the dam?
Daniel Richardson, Deputy County Administrator. It's as the water leaves, it's below Lake Don Pedro.
Okay. And so that's because you just answered something that kind of adds more strength to the argument that it does change your positioning a little bit, because I was concerned that, I mean, we're talking about a very short distance there, where it's then in Tuolumne County. I mean, a mile or so from the dam to the county line.
Yeah.
And so I was just concerned, you know, is there going to be an impact to justify we're talking about a very small segment. And if I'm reading this correctly, when they talk about consultants, in my mind, that would be a biologist that would have to be looking at those and preparing remarks if we were really going to do this correctly. And so, but it does sound like there's another piece. I'm just recognizing that it's a very small stretch of river, and we would probably have to engage a biologist if we were going to get the kind of remarks that would really hold water.
There are so many sections there that we probably are not going to become on that relicensing. I think that particular stretch of river, a little familiar with, is pretty easy to decide whether there's biological resources and things there that would affect Tuolumne County.
Well, I think it's
kinda doubt
specifically with regards to some of the terrestrial species and impacts to fish.
Yeah, I guess we addressed it at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of species, like you say, a lot of different fish species and terrestrial that we could, if we so chose, comment on, but at that point you need someone with greater expertise to make those comments.
Well, I guess my question then specifically is if we are going to be looking at intervening, would that be part of?
Would a biologist be part of it?
Preparing comments to yes.
Potentially. So the way I understand the process would work is that our water council would obviously file the motions. The board would give direction on the areas, the particular areas that the board is most interested in. And then depending on those areas, we would have to determine who is the best expert. So it could be a biologist, it could be county staff, it could be a water consultant. So it's going to vary depending on the board's interest.
Who wants to talk? Anybody out there? Nope. Come on back.
Okay, I move that we direct county council and our water attorney to formally intervene in the FERC process, file the necessary paperwork to do that, that further that we make formal contact with MID and TID with the intent to enter into negotiations, reference the value of services and other aspects that we provide to the Don Pedro enterprise down there, and that as they go through that process, that they look for areas that might be fertile areas for a water consultant to participate in that process to the extent that it would save the county money, and report those to the Water Policy Committee for recommendations to the board.
Is there a second?
I'll second that, but I want clarifications that I want to see it also at the same time before it goes to the Water Policy Committee. I don't want it to go to the Water Policy Committee and then to the board. Board first, Water Policy second.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
All right.
Any other comments from the board? Greg?
Just a question, clarification. So as far as the intervening, that's clearly county council, water attorney for the negotiations. We envisioned a team, county council in our office.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
Okay.
I'll make that part of my motion, if John will make it part of his second.
Yes. So can I ask a question then?
Yeah.
Or you talked about a water consultant. Are you going to put out an RFP?
Not at this time.
We don't have a requirement yet. All I'm looking for is, I don't have the expertise to say, yeah, we need one,
All right.
no, we don't. But if in the process of them going through this, it becomes apparent that we would benefit from that, I would be looking for them to come to us with a recommendation.
And we'll bring it back. Everybody clear? Public comment on that? Bring it back to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Cool. 18.
Consideration of reducing general fund contingencies by $10,000 and increased appropriations in the county council's cost center by the same amount to fund engagement of Water Council in the Don Pedro Reservoir Federal Engineer Regulatory Commission relicensing process.
I see pointer fingers in a circle. Who wants it?
Well, I just brought it here, whatever we do in this area, it's going to require funding. There is no funding left in County Council's cost center for this. The $10,000 figure that I mentioned in the staff report came from the prior report from the water attorney. Your board could hold on that, but if until things are further clarified, but we're going to be engaging the attorney right away. My recommendation would be to go ahead and move the $10,000. We're only going to spend it if we need it, and it could be spent not only on the attorney, but it could be on some of these consultants as that need develops, be it a biologist or someone with economics to help with negotiations or whatever it may be.
Sounds good. Any questions?
I just have one. How far do you see that going, $10,000?
When I talked to Water Council, he indicated that it would basically be cost for him to do the FERC intervening in the FERC process and negotiating with the districts. He didn't mention potential costs for consultants, so that may be additional.
Okay, well, but we can deal with the potential cost for the consultant when the recommendation comes back. I just want to make sure that $10,000 is sufficient to do the things that we've approved today.
That is what he's told me, so I'm relying on his expertise in that
Okay.
area.
And I'll just mention, you'll have other opportunities, just as things come specifically to the board. You'll have your year-end review, you'll have your budget, so there's many opportunities to address it.
Okay. Public comment? Can I get a motion?
I move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, got a motion second. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. 19. Got a long way to go.
Consideration of approving a standard agreement for professional services with Siegfried Engineering for services associated with the design of a bridge and roadway for the Big Creek Shaft Road crossing Big Creek Road Replacement Bridge.
We've got 13 items in 40 minutes. Let's do it.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Tanya Allen, Supervising Engineer of the Community Resources Agency. Big Creek Shaft Road crossing Big Creek is located in South County off of Highway 120. The bridge has a sufficiency rating of 28.2 and is eligible for replacement. Engineering programmed this bridge in the fiscal year of 13-14 under the Highway Bridge Program, and it's 100% funded through this program. The county has been authorized to proceed with preliminary engineering for the project and has selected Siegfried Engineering to perform the design services. The contract has 2 phases. Phase 1 will provide topographic and boundary survey, bridge type selection, and preliminary design plans. Phase 2 will provide final plan specification and estimates and bidding and construction support. It is recommended that both phases are awarded in the amount not to exceed $279,387.48. The total budget for this project is $438,235, which includes this recommended contract for design services, environmental studies, and staff time to oversee the consultant contracts and work. It is recommended that your board enter a standard agreement for professional services with Siegfried Engineering for services associated with the design of the bridge and roadway for the Big Creek Shaft Road crossing Big Creek Bridge Replacement Project in the amount not to exceed $279,387.48 for phases 1 and 2, and authorize the chair to sign the agreement.
Questions?
Yes, just a quick one, just a clarification. This is Federal Highway Administration money that we're spending on here.
Correct.
And I've asked this question before, so I just want to make it, ask it again, is, managing these projects takes considerable staff time, and that time will be paid for through those funds. But do we have the staff available to manage these projects?
At this point, we are reaching our capacity. We have to limit some of our assistance to other divisions and departments that we would recommend them consulting out with their own services. So right now we're kind of These ones have been programmed, we have planned for them, and so we'll proceed with those. But taking on more, we just took on 6 more projects through the HSIP and CMAC projects, which all kicked in within the next 5 years. So I believe we are looking at adding another staff member to help assist with those additional projects that we just took on.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just on that point, because I know that this came up during the budget workshop, and when we were talking about high priority restorations, this is an example. One of those could have a revenue offset. If you do, and this will be a future decision, that May 20th meeting we were talking about, if indeed there can be revenue offset, there's project work out there that can be reimbursed by state and or federal dollars, then it would make sense to bring them on board, have their costs covered, and get more projects delivered for the county.
Yep, we want to be aggressive, go after projects, get them done. Any other questions? Public comment? Bring it back for motion.
I move we approve the agreement.
Second.
Okay, call for question, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. It's 20.
Consideration of approving a standard agreement for professional services with URS Corporation for services associated with the design of the bridge and roadway for the Italian Bar Road crossing Rose Creek Bridge replacement project.
Tanya Allen, Supervising Engineer with Community Resources Agency. Italian Bar Road crossing Rose Creek is located outside of Columbia. This bridge has a sufficiency rating of 45.9 and is eligible for replacement. Engineering programmed this bridge in the fiscal year of 12-13 under the Highway Bridge Program, and it too is funded at 100%. The county has been authorized to proceed with the preliminary engineering for this project and has selected URS Corporation. The contract has 2 phases. Phase 1 will provide topographic and boundary survey, preliminary right-of-way, geotechnical engineering, hydrology, environmental assessment, bridge type selection, and preliminary design plans. Phase 2 will include environmental approval, completion of the right-of-way, and the final plan specifications and estimate and construction support. Phase 2 is recommended to award under a separate contract based on the findings in Phase 1. It is recommended that Phase 1 be awarded in the amount not to exceed $108,633. The total budget for this project is $339,750, which includes this recommended contract for design and environmental services and staff time to oversee the consultant contract and work. It is recommended that your board enter a standard agreement for professional services with URS Corporation for services associated with the design of the bridge and roadway for the Italian Bar Road crossing Rose Creek Bridge replacement project in the amount not to exceed $108,633 and authorizing the chair to sign the agreement.
Thank you. Questions? Public comment? Bring it back for a motion.
Not in my district.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move on the staff recommendation approval.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And I'd like to veer off of the agenda for just 1 second, and I wanted to introduce someone that just walked in the door. Shelley Abersion is, I'm sorry. And I just want to introduce you. You're with Senator Feinstein's staff, right? And we appreciate you being here, and having access to you is very helpful for a lot of the things that we try to do. So just wanted to say thank you for being here. And with that, could the clerk please read item 21?
Consideration of approving an agreement for the operation of Big Oak Flat Transfer Station with Moore Brothers Scavenger, Inc. for compensation at the rate of $138.30 per ton of waste.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. The Big Oak Flat Groveland Transfer Station is a county-owned facility that is currently being operated through an agreement with Moore Brothers Scavenger Company, Incorporated. The current agreement with Moore Brothers will expire at the end of this month. On March 8th of 2013, the Solid Waste Division did release a request for proposals for operating the Groveland Transfer Station. However, no proposals were submitted. Moore Brothers did advise us that they were interested in continuing to operate the transfer station. However, they did not have time to submit a proposal. Your board decided to direct staff to work with Moore Brothers to provide a proposal for the continued operation of that facility. On March 31st, we received the attached cost proposal from Moore Brothers. Moore Brothers is requesting that they be compensated in the amount of $138.30 per incoming ton of waste to operate the Groveland Transfer Station. That represents an increase of $5.05 per ton over their current compensation rate of $133.25, which was established back in August of 2004. This is an increase of 3.79% over the last 10 years. For calendar year 2013, Tuolumne County paid Moore Brothers $82,818 for their operation of the transfer station. That equates to $28.33 per ton. Under the proposed agreement with the rate of $138.30 per ton, Tuolumne County would compensate Moore Brothers $87,739 for the same amount of garbage that was collected last year, which represented an increase of about $5,000. The proposed agreement is for a term of 4 years and includes the option for 3 extensions of 2 years per extension. At this time, we ask your board to consider awarding this agreement with Moore Brothers for the continued operation of the Groveland Transfer Station.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, raising this tonnage fee will not result in an increase in a charge to the people that dump there, is that correct?
That's correct. Your board already adjusted the fees for disposing at that at that transfer station.
All right, thank you.
I just have one question on paragraph 11 of your background paper. $28.03 per ton going to $138.30. Is that are those two numbers related to each other?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Belinda Barlow, Solid Waste Manager. No, those numbers are not related.
Okay.
The current rate is $133.25 going up to $138.30.
Yeah, I thought I understood that, but then even when Ms. Shane was reading through her stuff, she said 2803 and then immediately followed with one. Okay, I'm fine.
Any other questions? Public comment? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agreement with Moore Brothers to operate the Big Oak Flat Groveland Transfer Station.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comment on the motion? Call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Could the clerk please read item 22?
Consideration of approving an agreement with on-site electrical recycling for the electronic waste, universal waste, and lead acid automobile battery management and recycling services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. The Cal Sierra Transfer Station and the Groveland Transfer Station operate as recyclable household hazardous waste collection facilities and as collection sites for covered electronic waste such as telephones and computer monitors. These collection sites are offered to provide county residents with an environmentally safe disposal option for these wastes that are prohibited in landfills. The county is required by state law to have the accumulated waste removed within a legally specified time frame. Currently, the county has an agreement with on-site electronics recycling for electronic and universal waste recycling services. The contract with on-site is scheduled to expire today. A request for proposals was released in January this year, asking for interested vendors to submit proposals for taking over this responsibility. The county received 5 proposals in February, and a committee reviewed those proposals. The committee unanimously agreed to propose to your board to support a new agreement with on-site electronics as providing the best service to the county for this particular service. The agreement before you today will be for a 2-year term with the possibility of two-year extensions at a not-to-exceed amount of $15,000 per fiscal year. Your Solid Waste Committee reviewed this item on March 11th, and at that time, the committee endorsed this agreement.
Great, thank you. Questions? Public comment.
I have a question real quick. How much does the county receive back roughly from the recyclables that they pay for?
It's close to around 30,000.
Around 30,000, okay. All right, thanks.
Did you have something, John? Nope. Public comment? Seeing none, bring it back for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation.
Second. Got a motion from Rutherford, second from Gray. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Item 23.
Consideration of approving correspondence to the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Water regarding Senate Bill 1270, which proposes to transfer responsibility for mine inspections and financial assurance from local jurisdictions to the State Division of Mines and make other modifications relative to the administration of the Surface Mining and Reclamation Act.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. The Surface Mining and Reclamation Act, commonly referred to as SMARA, was enacted in 1975 to encourage production and conservation of minerals in California and to assure reclamation of mined lands. Under that current law, cities and counties serve as the lead agencies for implementation of SMARA. That implementation includes reviewing and approving conditional use permits for mining operations, reclamation plans, mining inspections annually, and also review of financial assurances that will guarantee that mines are reclaimed in accordance with their approved reclamation plans. Through this process, the Department of Conservation provides oversight, and they do review the reclamation plans that are submitted. They also review the annual reports and financial assurances that are submitted to the local jurisdictions. The Office of Mine Reclamation, which is a part of the Department of Conservation, conducts audits periodically of local agencies serving as lead agencies for implementation of SMARA. Through recent audits, the state has documented that there is significant inconsistencies throughout the state of California and how local lead agencies are implementing SMARA. In response to concerns that have been raised by the Department of Conservation regarding SMARA, State Senator Fran Pavley has introduced Senate Bill 1270 to reform SMARA. And there are many changes proposed. Some of the highlights would be that the annual inspections of mines would be transferred from the local lead agencies to the state, that reviewing and determining the amount of financial assurances would transfer also from the local jurisdictions to the state, that the state would establish a minimum annual reporting and inspection fee of $1,000, and that there would be no cap on the amount that the state would collect as an annual fee. The fee would also be based on a per acre basis for the mines. What that means for Tuolumne County and the 6 mines that we currently oversee as part of our SMARA program is that our fees, which are well below $1,000 per year, would pay a minimum fee of $1,000. So this, right off the bat, will have a direct impact on the amount that they're paying for oversight by the state. This will also change the violation and remediation process. Currently, local lead agencies, such as Tuolumne County, have the discretion to decide if we find a violation with a mine and how we deal with that. This would require that a notice of violation shall be sent, and that we would deal with it as a compliance issue, and that the violation penalty could be up to as much as $5,000 per day. And that is from the date the violation occurred. So this has significant potential consequences for our local mines. Another requirement is that reclamation plans, which we currently review each year, would require to have annual reviews on schedules. And that could allow third parties to file appeals concerning decisions made to those potential quote-unquote changes to reclamation plans, where those would be considered very minor changes, but the law does provide for an appeal. The law also is adding some additional language about the rights of third parties to seek some kind of process where they could seek to have the state determine that the local lead agencies have not been enforcing the provisions of SMARA. Now, many of these changes are refinements of existing provisions of the law, but the significant changes really will be shifting the local lead agency responsibilities for the mine inspections and the financial insurances to the state. And so I did contact Blue Mountain Minerals, and Carrie Hoy at Blue Mountain did send an email to your board, which you should have received last week. Oh, and she's there. And also she attached a letter that was submitted to the state from the California Construction and Industry Materials Association stating their opposition to this proposed legislation. In your agenda package is a letter of opposition that has been drafted for your consideration to send to the state. Currently, the status of the bill is that it's going to be reviewed by the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Water. The bill was to be reviewed next Tuesday, but that has been postponed 1 week till April 29th. And so today had been the deadline for submittal, but that has been moved now by 1 week as well. So I'll be happy to answer questions that you might have about the draft letter that's been prepared for your consideration.
I don't have any question about the letter. I think it's something we should send, but have we ever been audited for
Yes,
any
we have.
And how did we do on the audit?
We did very well. In fact, several years ago, the Department of Conservation actually gave awards to counties for their excellence in administering SMARA, and I think you have a couple on your wall out here. And so we've done very well over the years. However, our audit, just so you know, the state sent 2 people, actually they sent 4 people to come. They spent 2 days here. They did visit the active mines. Mostly they went through paperwork. They did find that we had paperwork that they said weren't in their files, so therefore we must never have submitted it to them. And it really, all their findings were about things that they said they had not received from the county. And talking with other jurisdictions, that has been fairly common in the audits, that a lot of it's just the paperwork aspect and whether or not all the paperwork had been submitted as required by law.
All right, thank you.
Carl?
Yeah, I'm really opposed to this bill. One of the things it really does is it opens up what has been previously a largely administrative process to additional entry points for potential litigation and delays in routine business operations by people that have ulterior motives. And I really don't like it. Never mind the fact that one of the governor's strong agenda items is to push responsibilities for governance back down to the local level. This seems to fly in the face of that. I think we do a very good job as a government. I think our mining industry locally does an exceptional job of stewardship of the lands that their projects are on. And quite frankly, I don't think we need the state's intervention in this. So I support the letter opposing this legislation.
Sherry?
Yeah, and can we, I agree with everything that Supervisor Rutherford just said. Can we CC this also to RCRC and CSAC and with a cover letter requesting that they comment?
Yep. Same thing?
I share all those comments. I'm concerned about just more regulation and more intervening. You know, the interesting thing I find about mining is you have to have a reclamation plan approved, and you have to have a financial plan approved. Where else do we do that? We don't do that with the Forest Service. We're not going to get our rimfire restored. So, you know, additional regulation here, I don't see the point I do see the point in Kerry Hoy's note from Blue Mountain Mineral. I didn't see that in our letter, but we probably should include that too. It's just additional intervention by the state, and we don't need more state employees and more state intervention in our local business. So I support opposing this as strong as we can.
Thank you. Public comment? Can I get a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the release of the letter, but I would like to include in my motion the stipulation that we include the item that Supervisor Hanvelt referenced from Ms. Hoy's letter to us.
Have a second?
Second.
A motion second. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Okay, item 25.
Consideration of approving a transfer of $300,000 from the Behavioral Health Department to the newly created Cabrini House Cost Center for the anticipated purchase Cabrini House in support of the housing project.
Since we've heard this in closed session a number of times, it should be quick.
Hopefully. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Steve Boyack from the Human Services Agency. On April 1st, your board took action to update the annual Behavioral Health, Mental Health Services Act update to include the possible acquisition and operation of Cabrini House. In a continued effort to prepare for the acquisition of Cabrini House, the purpose of this item is to ask your board to transfer $300,000 of unspent MHSA Community Service and Supports funds from the Behavioral Health Cost Center to the newly created Cabrini House Cost Center. The new cost center will enable staff to better track and enhance our ability to review costs attributable to the operations of Cabrini House. It is anticipated that I will be back before your board on June 3rd with a sales agreement to complete the purchase of Cabrini House. When I do that, I will be asking your board, because of the use of MHSA funding, to convene as the Tuolumne County Behavioral Health Housing Incorporated, which is your 501c3 with which you took ownership of the Washington Street Supportive Housing Project. We will be asking for the same. The Supportive Housing Project is supported by behavioral health via an MOU with your board's 501c3 nonprofit corporation. With that, it is respectfully recommended that your board approve the transfer of $300,000 of unspent MHSA Community Service and Support funding from the Behavioral Health Cost Center to the Cabrini House Cost Center for the anticipated purchase of Cabrini House. Mr. Chairman, this is a 4/5 requirement, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions? I think we've already asked them all. Public comment. Bring it back to the board.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
A second.
Oh, sure, I'll say.
And I'll just make a quick comment that you guys have been working hard on this. I appreciate it. This is a good thing, and should actually save the county money over time. And anyways, happy to see it moving forward. So with that, I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is
Yes.
an eye on the clock. Can I suggest you take number 28, given
Yeah,
the
I
folks
see
in
we
the-
have audience. Let's go ahead and do that. Alicia, thank you for your cooperation.
Consideration of approving correspondence to the City and County of San Francisco requesting that they hold the 2014 Strawberry Music Festival at Camp Mather.
Thank you. We have a staff report. Tracy, come on up. I think we get 27
Okay,
minutes.
good morning, Tracy Riggs, County Administrator's Office. This item before you today is in regards to the Strawberry Music Festival. Last week, Supervisor Gray had received a request from Charlie Cran, who runs the Strawberry Music Festival Incorporated. He is here today in the audience. He had requested some assistance in that he had been told verbally that the City and County of San Francisco Recreation and Parks Department would not be renewing their permit for the festival to occur this year in the Labor Day of 2014. I began making some phone calls, both starting out with Mr. Cran as well as going to the Parks and Recreation Department in City and County San Francisco, in which Dennis Kern, who is one of the assistant general managers or directors for that department, did verbally tell me as well that they had no intention of issuing that permit for this year's festival to occur. Also spoke with Susan Skowski, who is our forest supervisor. You will see in your packet she had a letter that she had issued. They'd asked her to issue a letter if she had any concerns. Her concerns were related to there are many areas around Evergreen Road and Camp Mather that are still closed. Concerns were only that there is often dispersed camping that takes place in regards to this festival. She did indicate to us that if those who run the festival could ensure that they had enough safeguards in place that the dispersed camping did not occur in those closed areas, that would alleviate her concerns. One of the other primary concerns for those who, for the Park and Recreation District, is water. They just simply don't feel as if they have the infrastructure after the rim fire went through there to provide sufficient potable water for this festival to occur. Discussed that with Mr. Cran. He says they have worked through this in the past where they've brought in their own water and it worked out fine. They are willing to also make accommodations to ensure that they bring in their own resources for those who come into the camp. As you know, this area has already been hit severely economically with the rim fire, the government shutdown, and now with the drought. This brings in approximately 7,000 people up along that corridor, makes a big impact for those small businesses in that area. This letter before you is requesting that they reconsider issuing that permit, and within that permit maybe consider adding some items such as addressing the dispersed camping and bringing in their own water to provide for their campers. And again, we do have Mr. Cran here if you'd like to ask any questions of him as well.
I just want to make a comment. You know, the strawberry bluegrass, I think it's going on 30 years now, roughly 30 years. And it is a real economic factor to that 120 corridor. It's been hit really hard the last year with the government closure. I do understand that the campgrounds along Evergreen Road are going to be open, so there will be campsites available for people. So I think it's really important that we do offer our support to try to make the strawberry bluegrass happen. So,
Randy?
I share that. You know, rim fire was a terrible disaster, but we got to stop using it as an excuse not to do things and finding ways to really recover. And recovery is restoration of the activities that we had on the rim fire footprint. Evergreen Road is open. Okay, it may have its limitations, but we need to move forward and do the right thing. We have to recover. We can't keep crying over the rim fire happened. Let's restore our community and our culture that we have up here, and let's make it happen.
I think one of the key aspects of recovering from rim fire is regaining public access to our public lands, and I think this is an achievable step in that direction. I share staff's comments that maybe there are some conditions associated with the permit, but there's really, if those conditions can be met, I don't see any reason why the Strawberry Music Festival can't safely proceed this year, given my current understanding of the situation. And I share Supervisor Gray's thoughts that this is and Supervisor Hanvelt's that this is has a huge economic impact, especially in the south part of the county, but it'll bleed over into the entire rest of the county as well. So I really support sending the letter to the City and County of San Francisco's Parks and Recs.
And I would just, go ahead.
No, I just agree with all of those comments. And, you know, our Visitors Bureau has gone to great lengths to advertise that Tuolumne County is still in business. And this is a perfect example of we need to get back to being in business.
And I would just totally agree and say that I had plans to go to the Strawberry Music Festival. My brother is a watershed keeper at O'Shaughnessy, and so I go stay up there, and I love going to the Strawberry Music Festival. So we need to just make this happen, and hopefully these people could use a little common sense and make it work. So at this time, I'll ask for public comment. Get a quick
And, yeah, just real quick, Mike. In retrospect, I'd really like to maybe strengthen the last sentences and tell them that this county and its staff will work with theirs to as much as we can to make this thing happen.
Mike Ayala, excuse me, still getting over that. Mike Ayala, Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce. We want to go on record supporting the Strawberry Music Festival, finding John Gray's concerns in an email to Groveland, the Groveland Chamber, or Highway 120. We want to be forceful in our support. We're talking about the forest, we're talking about business, we're talking about economic vitality. Those are all things that need to start moving forward. Doors need to open, and events need to start occurring. On a side note, I have friends that have lived in Tuolumne County, were born here. They're clamoring to get back in the forest. They would like to get back in. It's their home too. The Strawberry Music Festival is another event that I think would send the signal that Tuolumne County is open for business, and we need to stop what's going on with Groveland, Pine Mountain Lake, and that whole Highway 120 corridor. Things need to start occurring. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Any other public comments? Did you guys? How you doing?
Hi, I'm Charlie Cran, owner of the Strawberry Music Festivals, and I've been one of the owners for its entirety. I live in Sonora for the last 25 years, and I just want to thank the board for its support. The director at Recreation Parks is a very tough customer, former Gavin Newsom chief of staff, so he's hard to deal with, but I think with an effort here, there's no good reason that we can't do our festival. We've worked for years with Public Works on Evergreen Road issues. We get an encroachment permit now to deal with whatever needs to be done there, and we're ready and willing to work on a plan that will resolve any remaining issues with them. So I just want to thank you again for your support.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And answer any questions you might have.
Anything else? Good to go.
Okay,
Thank you. Is there any other? Go ahead.
I move that we send the letter to the Department of Parks and Recreation.
A second.
Any other comments? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. And let's see, we got 5 minutes. Let's quickly take on 27. Get back on order.
Consideration of approving correspondence supporting the listing of the Sierra Railroad Shop as a California Historic Landmark.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as part of the 150th anniversary of the California State Parks, the State Office of Historic Preservation has prepared an application for listing the Sierra Railroad Shops, aka Railtown, as a California Historic Landmark. There's a copy of the application contained in your packet. I think that's Exhibit B. It's lengthy. It's actually very interesting. There's a lot of stuff I knew, a bunch of stuff I didn't know. And Attachment A is a suggested letter of your board's support. Having said that, it's a very good chance this will go through easily, in that the State Office of Historic Preservation itself prepared that application, but a letter from your board would be very welcome.
Comments? Quick.
The question is, so what? I mean, look, I'm in favor of this. This is a great place. I love trains. I love all this. But so what? I mean, if that happens, does that mean the state will put some more money into maintaining that? Or will we be forced to put more money into maintaining it? Or is it the same old neglect?
Right. Well, there's two items I mentioned in the memo that try to address that a little bit, aside from just the recognition. This listing will, one, afford a level of protection for Railtown through required environmental review under CEQA if the property is ever threatened by a future project. And secondly, it may help it qualify for state historic preservation grant funding for the future, which I think is what you're getting at.
A definite maybe.
A definite maybe. Actually, it'll give it a strong position for it. It's also, I also learned through this that they're looking at a national register thing in the future. And that will certainly help in getting one-time dollars, but I know one of the keys that we've been talking about for the last couple of years is ongoing operational funding to make sure that that keeps going. This designation will not hurt, could help.
Well, I agree. This is your district. I'll
Yeah,
support it.
I actually initiated this, so I'm obviously in favor of it. I think one other thing that it does is it affords, albeit maybe a thin layer, but another layer of protection for Railtown in the future, going forward in the future, should state parks funding become an issue again, which it most likely will at some point. I don't think it'll be on the near horizon, but it is important, and it is a recognition that personally I think is long overdue. So I do support it.
Public comment? Bring it back to the board.
I move to approve the release of the letter for the chairman's signature.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Quickly, I'm going to have her read 29.
Presentation of the board chair appointments to the Tuolumne-Stanislaus Integrated Water Management Joint Powers Authority and Water Management Board and to the Watershed Advisory Committee.
So, Rutherford is going to be the main delegate. Brennan will be the alternate, and I believe Daniel Richardson will be another alternate and serve on the WAC. Is that right?
Well, the way they need to line out between the Water Management Board itself, which would have Supervisor Rutherford as your delegate, Supervisor Brennan as alternate, and then for the WAC and Watershed Advisory Committee, we had the same two delegate and alternates with Daniel Richardson as a second alternate.
There we go. Perfect. There it is.
Okay. But the intent is that the WAC's a staff.
No, you'll be on both.
Okay.
Staff is an alternate.
And it's our intent to try and have staff there for each of those meetings unless something comes up,
So
no
they're
matter what,
always
no
up to
matter
speed.
what. Right.
Perfect. Let's do 29A real fast.
Consideration of approving out-of-state travel for Supervisor Sherry Brennan to attend the National Forest Symposium in Portland, Oregon.
Well, I'm going to set this, actually, Superintendent of Schools, Joe Silva, set this up perfectly at the podium this morning. He talked about this National Forest Counties and Schools Coalition sponsored Forest Management and Federal Payment Symposium being held in Portland, Oregon, April 22nd and 23rd with Senator Wyden, who's the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. He also serves in the Energy and Natural Resource Committee and has been a steadfast supporter of healthy forest and compensation to local jurisdictions. He's going to be the keynote speaker the evening of the 22nd. And topics such as secure rural schools, PILT payments, and things like that and more will be the subject of discussion. Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, there will be a workshop on the 23rd with extensive discussion about secure rural schools, PILT, and even how stewardship contracts may filter into that. And so I think it's very important that we be present and be part of the discussion.
Any comments, questions?
I move on staff recommendations.
Second.
Any public comment? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries 5-0. Okay. You guys want to do 30 and 31? Or you want to?
We got an appointment at 12:15?
Yeah, we can do it.
I don't know.
If not, we can wait.
We got to come back after lunch anyway.
I don't care.
All right, let's take a break.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have the two county vehicles. The rain goes downstairs, so in 5 minutes we can shuttle you over.
Okay. Oh, it's over there.
Yeah, and I think
Okay,
Alicia
that's
needs to
here.
read that in.
She needs to read the appointment.
Yes. It's a meet and greet luncheon with the Superintendent of Schools key staff located at Tuolumne County Superintendent's Office at 175 South Fairview Lane, room 209, Sonora, California.
And I guess
We're going to adjourn to go over there.
or 12:15 appointment, still in session. And let's take our 1:30.
Public hearing to consider Cowden Golden State Surveying and Engineering, Inc. Special Ordinance amending Section 1706020 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. Bob and Laverne Cowden have acquired a 2/100 of an acre parcel from the Columbia Elementary School District located next to other property that they own at the intersection of Airport Road and Parrots Ferry Road in Columbia. They acquired the property in order to facilitate a lot line adjustment so they can create a parcel under the Patelli home that currently exists on the neighboring property. This parcel, because it was owned by the school district, is zoned public. Now that it is under private ownership, the public zoning is no longer appropriate, and the Cowdens are asking for your support today to adopt an ordinance that rezone this 2/100 of an acre legal parcel to open space AIR combining district to reflect that it is within the airport influence area. The Tuolumne County Planning Commission considered this rezoning project at a public hearing on April 2nd, and after hearing from the applicant's representative and hearing no opposition, the Planning Commission has endorsed this project by unanimous vote.
Okay. Questions? Nothing. Okay. I will open the public hearing. Anybody that would like to speak for? Come up at this time.
Good afternoon, supervisors. My name is Bob Osborne, working with Bob and Laverne to get the parcel described rezoned and then move on to other projects. So if you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any other for? Anybody speaking against the project may come forward at this time. Seeing none, any neutral? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. And I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve zone change RZ14-005 based on findings A through D.
I will second. I got a motion from Rhoda for a second from Gray. And is there any other comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Okay, could the clerk please read our number 2, 130?
Public hearing to consider Southern Tuolumne County Historical Society conditional use permit to demolish the Miners Bean Kettle building.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Bev Shane, Community Resources Director. The Southern Tuolumne County Historical Society owns the Gamble Block that is located at the intersection of Big Oak Road and State Highway 120 in the community of Big Oak Flat. That block is very recognizable because the first thing you notice in entering Big Oak Flat is a large red brick building with the metal fire doors, which is called the Gamble Building. That building was at one time used as for Wells Fargo. Also on that block is the Cobden House. Both of those structures were built in the 1800s. And next to the Gamble Building is a small building that's now covered with corrugated metal, which is called the Miners Bean Kettle. All of these structures and the Gamble Block itself were listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1991, and that block is zoned with Tuolumne County's Historic Combining District. The Miners Bean Kettle was built around 1870, and it was primarily used as a residence. It was a wooden building and was covered with the corrugated metal around 1910. It wasn't until the 1930s that the building was used as a restaurant, and at that time was called the Miners Bean Kettle. There are signs that are painted on 2 sheets of the metal, one that says Miners Bean Kettle and the other says Miners Bean Kettle, Dutch Lunch. These 2 old signs are now considered to be historic artifacts. Out of curiosity, I looked into what a Dutch lunch is, and that is traditionally cold meats and cheeses served at lunchtime. It's also a Dutch lunch if you're serving that with beer. So, a little history about the building.
Okay.
The Historical Society, again, recognizes the value of this historic structure, but at this time, they have had it evaluated by an architect who determined in a letter to the county dated February 11th of this year that the building is unsafe and is, quote, so fragile at this point that it cannot be repaired. To rebuild it or to do anything else with it first requires taking it completely apart. As such, the Historical Society is asking for your support today for a conditional use permit to demolish the miners' bean kettle. Because it's in the H zoning district, our procedure requires that a conditional use permit be issued by your board after review by the Historic Preservation Review Commission. The commission did review this project at a meeting on March 10th, and the commission has recommended that the use permit be approved and that the structure be demolished. And they recognize the Historical Society's intent to demolish the building but preserve all of the pieces. There is a plan to reconstruct the building itself at some point in the future, or at least to create a display that would commemorate this building within the museum in Groveland or perhaps eventually on the Gamble block itself. Another condition that the Historic Preservation Commission requested was that there be a determination that removal of this building would not adversely affect the streetscape. On March 22nd this year, the county received a letter from Mark Holbert, who is with Preservation Architects in Oakland. And in his letter, Mr. Holbert states that he has determined that removal of the bean kettle would not detrimentally affect the streetscape or alter the National Register status of the Gamble block. As such, today I'm bringing forth the Historic Commission's recommendation that you do issue the conditional use permit allowing the Historical Society to demolish this historic building.
Thank you. Questions?
No, I'm just looking at some of the graffiti. David Jones, I believe he used to go by Davy Jones back in those days. But I'll be happy to make the motion if there's no other
Public
questions.
hearing. So, other questions? You got one?
Yeah, I ran into a prominent member of the Historical Preservation Group yesterday. They couldn't bring themselves to be here today because they had a little problem with advocating for this, but they told me they were in agreement. So
okay, good.
I'm confident that this is the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to open the public hearing, and anybody who would like to speak for the conditional use permit and the project as proposed, come forward at this time.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Mark Fossum. I live in Groveland. I'm a volunteer with the Southern Tuolumne County Historical Society, and I am the project manager of the Gamble Block project. This phase, today's request is one of many that will be coming before you as time goes on, as this project goes on, because our ultimate goal is to preserve the Gamble building, which is a large stone building. Primary reason for this request is safety. The bean kettle, as Ms. Shane mentioned, is falling apart. It's imploding. It does have some significant graffiti on it. Supervisor Gray referred to Davy Jones, and word has it that was the Davy Jones of the Monkees. He actually stopped or passed through Groveland, Big Oak Flat, in the late 60s on his way back from Mammoth, and a few local girls in the elementary school knew he was coming somehow, and they were out in the street waiting to see Davy Jones drive by in his light blue Porsche. Unfortunately, the school bus came and got them first, but he did stop in Buck Meadows to buy some snacks at the vacation station, and one of these girls' mother happened to be running the store, and she told Davy Jones about the girls, and he said, well, where's the school? I'll go see them, and he did. He went to Tenaya, which was just built, and went into the classroom and caused pandemonium, of course. But then one of the girls, and we don't know exactly who it was, because some of those girls are now grown mothers themselves in the area, so we have 4 witnesses to verify this story. But we don't know who wrote David Jones was here May, I think it was 29th, 1967, a day to remember. But anyway, we intend to save all that graffiti. And there's a lot of John's friends on that wall, too.
Probably so. You did
Someone
find
named
mine.
Gary Moore, pardon me?
Is this the post office?
No,
John's
this
friends
is
on the wall?
You're out there, too.
This is that's where other ones are. But apparently, this gentleman named Gary Moore was quite popular back in the day. But Supervisor Moore, or Gray's name is not on there. So, but we will save that and preserve it. We will also preserve a lot of the shiplap siding that's underneath the tin. And those two different materials, we can reconstruct displays of the building along with the signage that was mentioned. Once there's another benefit to this old building being removed, it will open up the west-facing side of the stone building to all eastbound traffic on Highway 120, and this will be spectacular. The building will really present itself well, because right now it's camouflaged by a tree and that tin. So we do ask you for your support, and again, this is just one of many phases going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
We're good. Anybody else like to speak for the project? Seeing none, anybody like to speak against the project or neutrally? Okay, public hearing is closed. Bring it back for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the conditional use permit CUPH 14-002 based on findings A through I and subject to the attached conditions 1 through 12.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any comments on the motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thanks, guys. Okay, back to our regular agenda. Let's take item 30.
Consideration of creating a master annual Board of Supervisors meeting calendar and schedule.
Okay, Mr. Chair, members of the board, earlier this year, Chairman put out a list of things that we might want to consider as we were looking at the Board Rules and Regulations Ad Hoc Committee. There were two items that were removed from the list that would go to the committee. This is one of them, and I just put in the middle of the memo the item as it was created by the chairman. And what I've attempted to do, just to inform your discussion on this, is attached. There are some items that routinely come to the board in a consistent pattern that are listed in here. There's some items that come to the board routinely, but in an unpredictable pattern. And then some of the major conferences and events that several board members attend. And then also attached the fairly extensive outline of our budget process. And just to remind the board, there's a long list of specific deadlines, internal deadlines for my staff and for department heads that go along with this as well. So that's just provided as backup for your discussion and consideration for a board calendar and schedule.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, when I first thought about the idea of a master calendar, I'm thinking, okay, is it something that it's for us to know where we're supposed to be? Is that the purpose of
Are you
this?
asking me what my intent was? No,
Yeah.
the idea came, if you go on like CSAC's website or any of these people, they have their calendars on there. It shows when the retreats are. It shows when the executive board meets. It shows a lot of things like that. So we could show just simply when our meetings are, if we're going to have a retreat, when that stuff is. In the past we did the outreach board meetings where we went into the district. I think I'd like to do that again from time to time. And then, this item is actually related to the next item in a way, having a retreat annually. There's certain things like that I would like to actually schedule every single year, have it be a part of our process when we're developing our goals, when we're doing our strategic plan, and tying that stuff in. And then I know, we have a budget, and there's usually a process that's fairly similar every year, and having those steps along the way so we know when to, as a board member, if I want to get something done, I know when I need to kind of work things in, and over time you learn that stuff. Transportation committee, for example, if you want to get something through for a certain process or certain things, we can't put all that in there, but some of that type of stuff is just what I'm thinking.
One of the problems that I have is looking at, say, a specific date, and a drop-dead date, when I know through some of the other budget processes, we had issues that we were dealing with the state as far as funding and things
Sure.
like that. If you'd stretch it to, a period of time, not a specific date, because a lot of times, we're not gonna make that date, not any fault of our own, but fault from not having answers from the state or
Yeah.
federal government, like PILT and so, pure local schools and those type of things. So, you know, lining out the time would be fine. But as far as somebody keeping track of my own calendar, you know, I don't want my calendar on the master calendar.
No, I don't think that's what, I agree, and I don't want that either. Just the big events and things like that. And, you know, like Craig said, we have, you know, our employee barbecue every year. We have, you know, CSAX events and certain things like that. That's basically the idea. Carl?
Yeah, I think it's important to have it, one. Two, I think it's tied to a lot of the processes and stuff that we're going to be reviewing on the ad hoc committee. And I would like to see this actually referred back onto the list that the ad hoc committee considers, along with the next agenda item as well, because they do fold into, I mean, you really can't deal with them in isolation. There's a lot of stuff that's going to probably fold together on it. I think it's important to have the calendar or schedule or whatever you want to call it for a couple reasons. One is so that we know what the expectations can be of us in terms of when things are going to come up, and we can be a little bit better prepared. But also, I think it's something that goes to transparency in that the public will know, you know, what time of the year are we talking about. And I don't think we have like a not later than date, but it's a target date. That people know that the board is dealing with this aspect of the budget at this time of year, or the board is going to have a retreat, if that's what we decide to do, to discuss board goals or whatever for the coming year. So it's both kind of a management tool for us and the staff, but it's also kind of a window into the government for the citizens. And again, I would ask the chairman to refer this item, and I'll do the same thing on the next item, to the ad hoc committee.
And to address that, I would be okay with that. I think it's good that we're hearing it right now so that we can give a little bit of direction on what we're thinking of and clarify, you know, this isn't everybody's personal calendar all lumped together. It's just the bigger picture items that the whole board deals with. And with that, you know, I would say, you know, having the committee work with our staff that's appointed to that committee, which I think we have a pretty good cross-section of people that would deal with it, work out the details of the format and the implementation and so forth. And I think to some degree the clerk actually keeps a calendar, but which items we want to include in that and which ones we don't could be discussed. So, is there any?
Mr. Chairman, I agree with what Supervisor Rutherford said. I'd also like to solicit the board for things that aren't on this list. For instance, I would like to see an annual report and review of the airport business plan. We finally got one a couple years ago and haven't heard anything about it since, and we need to review that on a regular basis annually. So,
But that's not something that you would put on a master calendar.
I wouldn't.
That would be something that you would direct staff to do. Makes no sense to put it on a master calendar.
Airport Commission, I would have that reported every year on
I
a
would
specific
disagree.
date.
I would disagree. It's not a master calendar
If
subject.
you don't put it someplace,
It's
it
a
won't
fun-
happen.
it's a-
Hold on, guys.
It's a
Hold on.
function.
One at a time.
I said, if you don't do it, it won't happen.
Okay. It's okay to disagree, but let's keep it civil and on point.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask Mr. Pedro's opinion of this discussion point here, because he's going to have to be the one to put this together, and if it's going to be put together, it's got to be useful and
workable. I agree.
And what I'm seeing right now, if you had everything on a calendar, it's not going to become workable because too many things happen throughout the year.
I don't think that's the intent. It's certainly not my intent. I'm talking about high-level calendar of key events, that give us and the public a sense of how the county does business. And when the expectation is that that specific aspect of our business is considered. And I'm not talking about every appointment that I have. I certainly don't want my calendar out there either. And I'm not talking about every specific suspense date on staff. I'm just talking about big, again, it goes to, I think, the broad policies and processes that we're going to talk about in the ad hoc committee. And what, again, I think it's better to deal with in the committee and then bring it back and we can discuss how we would change what the recommendation of the committee is. But I don't see it being some nitnoy analysis of how we do business. That's certainly not the intent.
This is what I'm thinking.
Not my intent.
The term that I like that you use is high level.
Yeah.
And that's where it needs to be. It doesn't need to be specific.
If you look
High
on
level.
here, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What we put on there.
I understand. High level is the term
Yeah,
that he's talking about.
Yeah.
If we can't have a fairly, a pretty readable pictorial of that thing on one side of one piece of paper, then I think it's too detailed.
I would agree.
Okay. And again, I would ask the chairman to refer it to the committee because I think it's going to be interwoven. What goes on there is going to be determined by the processes and those things that we may be talking about in the committee. And I think trying to do it separately is a mistake.
So is there anybody that would disagree with just letting the committee work out the details with us?
I don't disagree, but I would like to hear what Mr. Pedro.
Go ahead.
Well, my comments are, whatever is helpful to the board as far as, the high-level, calendar, which this was an attempt. It's not obviously everything. There's so many things this board does. So we were just trying to put the big things. So whatever is helpful for you to see when generally things are going to come. You don't want to get too specific. Like I could put dates, for example, that's about a third of the way down under the common ones, like mid-year and year ends. It depends. There's a lot of things that depends on.
Some of those things are moving targets.
They're moving targets, even down to nitty-bitty things like when will payroll close in order to do a
No,
mid-year.
we're not doing that.
Well, I'm just giving an example how detailed it can get.
Yeah.
As far as processes, the word scares me a little bit in that, here's the budget process, and this is a summary.
Every step doesn't need to be on there.
So hopefully we've gone through this together, and because if I get a bunch more stuff injected here, it's going to be impossible to deliver a budget. I think we've gone through that, so hopefully we're not going back through and talking about our budget process as an example.
Go ahead, Carl.
Just so we can put a picture that's in my head anyway to that. Flip back that page that you've got in your hand. No. Well, but either one of those. That one and the next one, in my view, are way too detailed.
Okay.
Both of them, okay? So I think we can come up with a much more high-level view. And again, it's a planning tool. It's, I think, for lack of a better term, it's not a, nobody's going to get fired if they miss a suspense date. That's not the intent. It's just at what general times of the year are we dealing with the preliminary budget or the proposed budget, and when are we dealing with the final one? If there are key reports that are going to come to the board, it would be nice if the public could go onto a website and pull up a graphic that has maybe a little triangle that says, sometime in June or whatever, this event's going to occur, and, that kind of thing. Not anything as detailed as your budget process. I mean, that's a very good document. I'm not being at all critical of that. I'd pull 3 or 4 points off of that and put it on the master schedule at most.
Yeah, which is kind of what I tried to put
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
I think you got the idea.
So if you're looking at pictorial, and I think I know what you're looking at in the CSAC website, it's just something that you can track, that.
Well, people
again,
want to know
whatever's
what our
helpful
next
to the
meeting
board.
is, or I get people that want to agendize something or do something like that, and they don't know when our next meeting is. And it's just, Our very next one, yeah. But sometimes it's in 3 days, and they know they can't get it agendized for that. It's just a tool. Simple.
Yeah.
So I think we've overdone it. So with that, I don't know if I can just take chairman's prerogative and refer it to the committee, or if I think we have consensus anyways with what's been discussed. Does that work for you, Craig?
It is. I'll just, voice a concern, and Supervisor Roderfire and I have talked about it, is we're coming in on budget right now, and so we're going to have like an organizational get started kind of meeting, but like when we first talked about this, it sure be nice to get past the proposed budget, because any additional anything right now is really hard. I was going to mention under reports, but I'll just mention now. But starting on Friday, my staff's been working on it in conjunction with Deb for the last 2-3 weeks, getting ready for next year's budget. And starting Friday, we're going to have a month, less than a month, to actually deliver that May 20, high-level review of next year's budget, so you guys can give us that overall direction. So it's going to be one of those all-hands-on-deck, exercises, and then we'll turn it in the next 3 weeks into your proposed budget. So just feeling a lot of things going on right now, particularly in the natural resource area, droughts
busy.
and rim.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Whatever, again, will serve this board well. We'll make it happen.
Okay. Good.
So we're just directing staff to
Refer to the committee.
the ad hoc committee.
Yeah, based on some of the discussion we've had, and let them figure out how to implement it and bring it back with their recommendations. 31, yes.
Are you going to read 31?
I am. Consideration of establishing an annual Board of Supervisors retreat.
Okay.
Again, a
Hold
couple.
on. Do you want to, staff, let him.
Well, again, I've just put in here exactly what you had put on that list, and those are things your board needs to direct. You have things such as annual retreat with facilitator, possibly getting request input from department heads, consider staffing schedule, viability of goals. The only comment I had on this one is it would be good from my perspective. We're going to do an annual retreat. My recommendation would be late September, early October, because that will set up well for all your major planning things that go on, your 5-year plan, your annual goals, and then the multi-year budget forecast, which really sets up the coming year. That'd be a nice window of time to do that.
So what you're saying is those items would be basically the agenda for the retreat?
Well, they could. Those are some of the things that the board has mentioned. For example, emerging issues, which play right into budget and into your 5-year plans and goals and things like that. That's just a really good time to be getting well ahead of it, turn it into those documents, and then we put feet to it, through your budget and your committee assignments and so forth. Whatever that may be.
Sure. And more of what I was thinking on this also, I want to be clear. We've done one retreat since I've been here, and I think Carl and Sherry have not had that opportunity yet, but Randy and I and John, we did have one that addressed some of those 5-year strategic planning type of issues, and we actually held it somewhere else. What I was thinking for this was actually not having a special venue, but actually just almost like a meeting like this, but basically our whole agenda is directed towards those things, and maybe a little bit more casual to be able to discuss things with department heads, and like we've talked about emerging trends and so forth. But because of cost and more time to organize, I'm okay if we just came and sat here and did it. You know what I mean? That's kind of my vision for it.
Well,
go ahead.
I have, and that's fine, by the way. I have an alternative view of that, of what it could be. And I'd be interested in other people's comments, other board members' comments. One of the problems with having it in September or October is the new chairman is not seated and new board members are not seated. And then you end up really inheriting something that you really didn't have much input into. And what I envision is a retreat shortly after the first of the year, maybe the 3rd or 4th week of January-ish, that could move, where the board met with staff, again, informal, just like the chairman has articulated. But the goal of that being to set the board goals and the county goals for the coming year. And then you have the new chairmans in place, any newly seated supervisors are in place, and now everybody that is on the board has partial ownership of whatever the product is that comes out of that. And again, I think the useful focus there is, where are we headed? What are we trying to do this coming year? The obvious drawback is that the budget process may have already started, but it's going to be early in its formation phase, and any new directions or whatever that come out of that, I think would be easy to implement. But I would be interested in either way would work for me, but I think the second one would be my preferred solution.
Randy,
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
With trying to think, and I'm agreeing with the thing about new supervisors coming in and stuff like that. But one way to do it, still using that time of year, would be in the election cycle. We don't run in an election cycle every year, and generally, once you've established your goals and all your things, it takes a couple years to get all that stuff going. That maybe
get it done.
Looking at it in the based on the election cycle, to do it in the time of year that Craig's talking about, and then that gives that supervisor that got elected 8 or 9 months to get his feet on the ground to see what's going on. Because it won't affect any of us that have been here by doing it in that time. In other words, we're here. If we do it in October, we all have our feet on the ground. We all understand. It would only be beneficial, or it only changes if somebody new was elected. So, but again, I'm flexible. I'm not.
It's not going to make or break it.
No.
When have we been doing our goals?
We've been doing, starting with the 5-year plan. We've started as early as October, but usually November, December. So those are pretty well done by December. And then you take the first year of that, and that's what comes forward in January. I think we dipped into the very first part of January, but that was after we'd already had quite a bit of discussion and direction, on that. Because it does take time to develop all that. Flush out the ideas. And not just come up with a chart, but there's verbiage, behind all of that.
Sure.
And that takes time, to do that. So we have been in the November, December, pretty much have it cooked by December. The latest we've adopted was in January. So that sets up your board goals, so you're rolling.
Randy?
I'm sorry, I want to take a little issue with Craig here, and that is that I don't think we have adopted goals until January at the earliest every year, and I have a problem with that. And I have a problem with that because if the staff organization is going to put their goals together for the year, they need to have them established earlier than that, so that they can put them together and they can coincide with that of the Board of Supervisors. The other one is a couple of comments. One is, I like your idea of doing it here, except the one problem I've got is I think it has to be a special meeting. The reason I think it has to be a special meeting is we're only meeting twice a month, first and third, and our agendas are pretty full. And if you're going to dedicate a whole day, it shifts things. So I'm just throwing that as an idea. I'm not locked to anything. I just think we need to do that. But we need to retreat with new supervisors in the like Supervisor Gray said about the election cycle, would be a good thing to help them orient themselves. But I kind of like doing it in the fall when we can to set the tone for the following year. Because then we talk about goals and things. Plus, the other nice thing about doing it in the fall is if we put together a modification that requires legislative advocacy, we can get into the legislative cycle early enough in the year that maybe we can get something done.
When is that?
Well, they usually have their legislative agendas by the end of February. They're done, locked. I mean, there's a deadline to submit bills in the Assembly, in the Senate, and the state. I don't know what it is at the feds, but it's fairly early in the year, too, I think. And so I'm just saying, if we want to impact things, we need to be ahead of the game. So we just need to think through all this, integrate those kinds of things into whatever our planning cycles are.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the legislative cycle is something to consider. The other thing to consider, you were talking about, if we do it in the fall, we're 9 months out or so from adopting a budget. So to get anything changed for 9 months, if we're adding anything, you're 4/5 vote, and we're already modifying our budget. If you're
going to balance all this.
Yeah, so that's something to consider, and relative to the budgetary process where we're coming in. And then the other thing to consider is the holidays. If we're doing it right before the holidays, then you're cramming it in there. So it's got to be soon enough before then or right after then to where that can be dealt with, There's just a lot of things to consider, and I'm pretty flexible with it, too.
Rimfire.
Yeah, you get a rimfire or, yeah.
Again, I would ask that
We
we,
shouldn't have rimfires well, maybe September.
because of the potential meshing of some of the other stuff that the ad hoc committee may be considering, I'd ask to refer to the committee. Well, certainly, these are all great comments, and I think there's even more to talk about and think about. But I would ask that this also be referred to the ad hoc committee.
I'm okay with punting.
And I'm okay with that too, and they can flesh out, a few more things that might be important. But it does
details.
make sense to be looking at the fall, so
What-
that,
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask about the fall is, would it be okay in election years if we had it after November, whatever it is?
actually, I was wondering that too, so that if there was a newly elected,
Yeah, if we've got newly electeds, could we include them in the discussion? They can't vote, obviously, if there's a voting thing.
That could be awkward.
Well, it's a public, you're talking about a public meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Anybody can
Certainly
comment.
they can participate as members of the public.
Okay.
and then I would like to, just one last thing, I want to keep in mind too what, staff does a great job, but I think there are certain times of the year where they are certainly more impacted, and
Mhm.
their plates are really full. And so I just want to kind of be mindful of what those timeframes are too.
Yeah.
I was just going to speak into a little bit, just have gone through some election cycles here. Very sensitive, and I think I might have talked with some of the members that are sitting here today, because they get elected and they want to get in and start directing things right now, and that's understood. But the members who are sitting here today feel disrespected if they cannot exercise the full authority and, not treated as a lame duck. They have full authority of their office until the day, that office ends. And it's a real fun thing. I know I've had some conversations as folks were coming in, and it's just an awkward spot, and we try to staff to be as respectful as possible, but boy, it can get really winky
Yeah.
when you're having that conversation. So.
Okay.
Punt.
Punt. Anybody disagree? So I think we have consensus and some direction to send it to the committee. All right. Let's go on to reports. And I'll start with...
Reports.
Oh, thank you. Let you do your job. Let's start with John.
All right. April 2nd, along with Supervisor Rutherford, we had an airport meeting in Groveland, and I think you can agree that they're much more eventful in Groveland than they are in Columbia.
I concur.
And what we are discussing is hangar rules and through the fence issues with Pine Mountain Lake Airport. April 3rd, I met with the gentleman from the Strawberry Music Festival to discuss his issues, and we acted on that. Today, on the 4th, met with some individuals in the Groveland area on some possible development things. We'll see where that goes. On the 9th, the SWIFT meeting in Moccasin, and I did mention earlier that to someone, I don't remember who, that CAL FIRE is staffing 6 weeks earlier this year than than they have in the past. On the 9th TCTC meeting, a lot of discussion on the possibility of making Highway 49 a federal highway. It has some distinct funding advantages versus it being a state highway, and that'll probably be brought up more than once here in the next few months. April 10th, Gateway Partners meeting. I'm sorry that you guys can't go to Yosemite on a Thursday and look at that awful scenery up there. But I think there was a person from the Cal Tourism Bureau, and she gave a long presentation with a lot of figures on how those dollars are spent. And they did set aside about $250,000 to really promote Tuolumne County and the Central Sierra based on the things that's happened up there. And a lot of that's already out there, and I think they've done a really good job. There's a lot of work done on television commercials and stuff that we just don't see because they're put out someplace else, but they have about $50 million in they're building our tourism, and it's growing each year, so what they're doing must be working. On the 11th, we had a Tuolumne County Economic Development Authority meeting, and Mr. Cope went over the knowledge lab that's being built at the old hospital. I think that's going to be exciting for people in Tuolumne County here to have a place to go to make things. Also on Friday the 11th, I was able to speak to the students at Don Pedro High School. A nice group of kids. We had almost a 2-hour conversation about how county government works, and those kids really have pride in their school. I went down there probably a year and a half ago. There was weeds growing everywhere. They've really stepped up and are really taking some pride, doing a good job down there. And on the 12th, I had the privilege of cleaning about 200 or so rainbow trout from the Moccasin Hatchery during the Trout Fest. If you have kids, grandkids, whatever, bring them down there. That is a great event. The kids really have a good time. And on the 14th, LAFCO meeting, we just discussed some eliminations of some inactive CSAs. That's my report.
Thanks, Sean. Carl?
Okay, real quick, on the 3rd, I attended the ATCA IAA meeting, Internal Affairs Committee meeting. We're in the process of redoing all the personnel regulations for ATCA, kind of a in-depth and very interesting process. On the 7th, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee meeting. And then last Friday, I'll skip over some of the more mundane stuff, but last Friday, later on in the day on the 7th, Supervisor Hanvelt and I went down to Modesto. I talked about it earlier for an SNRI lecture entitled Floods, Droughts, Lawsuits, Managing California's Water by Crisis. It was a very academic exercise. Most of the people in the room were academics. But one thing that did, and I sort of touched on it earlier, but one thing that did kind of get my attention is the speaker is a proponent of a concept of banking groundwater and managing groundwater in such a way that you bank it for drought relief. And his exact statement was, if you do that, you don't need any more surface water storage. So I see a emerging food fight between the subsurface water storage mafia and the surface water storage. In truth, we need both. Okay, like every other system where you have people on both extremes, the real answer is a balanced approach. And so we need to be aware that that is out there. And then the two things that I did last Friday, first of all, I happened to be up in Sacramento for a CSAC class. So prior to the class, I got up there a little earlier, and prior to the class, As a member, I attended the CSAC's Administration of Justice Committee meeting. It was a teleconference, but I attended in person. And there were several presentations. Most of the discussion had to do with pending legislation that's in the state legislature in both houses with respect to administration of justice issues, and also we got a financial report in terms of how CSAC's expending their money in that area. And then I participated in a NACO teleconference for again, I'm now a member of that, the Energy, Environmental, and Land Use Committee. I finally figured out what that other E was for. It was energy. The nature of the teleconference was water issues. Specifically, the big topic item was the proposed rule on waters of the United States. And for those of people that don't know what waters of the United States are, it used to be navigable waters of the United States, okay? They dropped the word navigable so that, they can go into your drain spouts. But basically the language of the rule as it exists right now, and there's a big congressional hoorah over it. I don't know where it's going to end up. But ephemeral streams and casual water on golf courses will become waters of the United States and be subject to the Water Quality Act rules and regulations and all of that stuff. That rule has potentially the most devastating impacts on everyone, but most specifically on the ag industry. And I know the Farm Bureau is geared up to oppose it. Everybody ought to be opposing it. This is the most ridiculous extension of government regulation that I've ever heard proposed. So I did participate in that discussion. It was an active discussion. There was no dissent on the telephone line. We were all unified in our opposition to the rule. And that's my report.
Supervisor Hamboldt.
Thank you. I met with Larry Cope on April 3rd talking about some economic development opportunities. I attended a special meeting at TCTC, and then I went to Oakdale to meet with Kristen Olson and chat with her a few minutes. On Friday, I went to the Senior Providers Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. My bride volunteers there, a number of people there, and they were celebrating the volunteers, and we have tons of volunteers in this county. It was really a nice event. I attended a second performance for myself, at least, of SRT's Les Miserables. Supervisor Roder adequately talked about the UC Merced meeting. That was interesting. We need to keep track of that. Academic guys seem to have a lot of influence on life, even if they don't operate in the real world very much. But they certainly have some interesting ideas, and we do need to stay at top of those. I had cataract surgery on Tuesday, and I've been a little light duty since then. I met with several people, including our fire warden on Thursday, and Debbie Russell. I went to the CSRS meeting. On Friday, I went to the ATCA Finance Committee meeting and the ATCA Board meeting following that. And then I met with Assemblymember Bigelow when I returned to Sonora. I also attended the Home and Garden Show, which was, I think that thing gets bigger every year. And last night I was at the Farm Bureau's Candidates Night. That's my report.
So on the 2nd, I met with Larry Cope and got an update on some of the economic development things that talked a lot about the innovation lab there at the hospital, and that I agree that does sound like real exciting, real positive thing for our county. And then I was at a First Five meeting in the afternoon, and would like to thank Mr. Grossi. There were a lot of transportation issues for some families that were trying to utilize Head Start programs and some of the facility up off of Tuolumne Road. And when those transportation issues came to light, he was real proactive in finding some solutions. And so on behalf of all those folks, I'd like to thank him. And then we had a behavioral health meeting in the evening, late afternoon, and we saw the two things that came forward today were discussed at that meeting. And then I was invited to participate with the National Public Lands Council in Washington, D.C., and so I left for D.C. on Sunday the 6th and returned on the 12th. And I just, a couple of highlights, even though I was not there representing the county, a number of the issues I think were very, very applicable to what we have been experiencing here. Healthy forests dominated the conversation, as did water, with all of the legislators that we spoke with, and boy, they had us on the run for 4 days. Spoke to, I think, a total of 20 congressmen, both of our senators, and then a number of people with the Department of Agriculture. A lot of conversation was also centered around the EPA's move on the waters of the United States, and there was unanimous conversation from every elected official that we spoke to that that is bad, and funding mechanisms, or however they are going to look at slowing that down, there was just unanimous support that not move forward. And so that was real encouraging news. That's my report.
Carlin Drivdahl attended a land use legal update on March 14th and April 3rd and April 9th. She was in attendance at the TCTC board meetings. On March 6th, Chris and I attended an employment law update. Chris has been dealing with quite a bit of juvenile contested matters, and he attended the airport meeting on April 2nd. As for me, I've been working with Ann from HR on all those PERS resolutions and the ordinance that you saw earlier. I attended the Drought Task Force meeting on March 28th, and then last Wednesday through Friday, I was at the Civil Law and Litigation Conference. Thank you.
Nothing to report.
John mentioned TCTC. I did have a meeting with Michael Patterson on Wednesday the 9th, who is the union representative that was mentioned by one of the gals that got up during public comment, and they keep pushing the, what is it called, Craig? Yeah, but it's the other model. And I know we've had discussions about it, and I didn't remember the full background. And I think he was going to be reaching out to everyone looking for a chance to talk. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm just curious about some of the comments he made and what the background is. He didn't understand why we didn't want to do that, and I didn't remember the full discussion. So I'm sure that'll probably boil up at some time. Yeah. Yep. I also attended a Tuolumne Park and Rec meeting that evening, and I had a discussion with Mr. Pedro this morning about some small issues they were having. Try to get it worked out. You mentioned EDA, and that's pretty much it. So that's it for reports. So at this time, would the clerk please read our closed session?
Conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation authority, Government Code Section 549569D41 case.
Okay. Do we expect to report anything out? Is there any public comment on the closed session? Seeing none, we will recess to closed session.